Good morning, everyone. We're going to be starting with Dan Campbell's press conference right away once he gets up to the mic. And then we'll get into yesterday's breakdown.
Pledge my Sundays to the Honolulu Blue, to the silver stripes and the soul of the blue crew. From the ashes of 0 and then 16 we rose with the chip on our shoulder that everyone knows. I stand with the faithful, the loud and the loyal, on Michigan soil where the battle lines coil. I pledge allegiance to the shield and the main, through the lake effect snow and the November rain. One nation under God, moving the chains with the fire of the city coursing through our veins. Hey, invisible spirit, upon them will crack. We got the whole league's targets on our back. Watch the war room flicker, watch the vision take hold, turning late round flyers.
It's like Dan Campbell's up, so we're going to be switching over here in just a second.
He's the master of the board, the dealer of the deck, putting every expert opinion in check. Put every expert opinion in check. He doesn't follow trends, he creates the hook. Quiet in the room, let Brad cook. To the trenches we swear, where the dirty work's done, where the game isn't played, it's physically won. I promise to roar till my vocal cords fray, to believe in the homes and the Brad chosen way. We don't want the flash, we don't want the glitz, just the hunters who thrive in the heart of the grid.
Good morning, everyone. Dan Campbell's up. As soon as he gets done, we'll break right into this.
Good. Vaki, how's everybody doing? Good. Vaki yesterday, got poked in the eye, broken nose, so he's going to be out for a little bit here. We're hopeful, vision should be okay in time. We're not going to have him here today. Just going to let him kind of recover a little bit. So we think he'll be okay. He's just going to need a minute here. It's just one of those freak things. Somehow, a hand gets through the face mask. It was unbelievable. Ferk, he's got a fractured fibula, so he'll be out, obviously. And then Keys had a little bit of a hammy. So got Horton back today to tight end position, and we move on. Day 2 of pads here. And, I thought it was competitive. I thought there were some really good things yesterday, man. I thought the D-line came off the ball. They looked like they took the sled work to team, and that was good to see. So I'm looking forward to the offense responding today. It'll be good.
Okay, too.
Is that good? Yes. Mm-hmm.
Pads, come on, Dan. Obviously, the eyes gravitate toward the big guys because you can't evaluate anything until those pads come out. What did you like? You mentioned the defensive line. What else did maybe pop out to you? What did you like about the pads coming on with those guys in the trenches?
Well, it just makes it real, right? And that's the first thing that always happens on one side of the ball is when you put the pads on, you think you're playing low. You think you're doing the drill work until you get somebody on you. And now we all got our pads on, and the pad level really, really becomes important. And you have to get a taste of it. Before you realize, and it'll adapt. Players will adapt and adjust off of it. Like today, you're going to see guys play lower today, and so that O-line's going to play lower. Well, then the D-line's going to have to get under them to play. So it's just good, man. That's how you get better, and it gets competitive. But, man, I love the violence of it, the way these guys played. I thought they were aggressive. I thought we were smart, though, too, without, we don't want to do anything stupid. But, I thought it was what we were looking for the first day. And it wasn't very long. There weren't very many reps. We'll amp the reps up today. It'll be a little bit longer and get some good periods in.
Obviously, some opportunities for some guys behind him on the depth chart. you guys clearly liked what you saw in Sailors all last year. He looks a little quicker, maybe a little leaner. He was coming off that UFL season last year.
Yep.
How is he different, I guess, coming into this camp after having a couple big plays in camp yesterday?
Well, he's been in our system now. He got a full year with us. He's banked a lot of reps, particularly on special teams. But he's been in that room. I mean, he's been in there with Choice and Gibbs and Montgomery, and now this year with Zay. But he knows the system, and he's a smart guy. He's conscientious. And so that's always going to help when you come into camp. You're like, all right, man, now I know why we're doing what we're doing, what we're asked to do, the calls, all of that. He looks much more comfortable. And he's got ability. I mean, you see it. He's got ability. So, he's about to get, this is a great opportunity for him. This is a great opportunity. So, it'll be good to see, and small too. I mean, obviously Zay is Zay. That guy's a stud, man. I'm glad he's here. But man, you talked about Sailors, and Small is doing some things, and he's doing some things on special teams too, man. Low to the ground, center of gravity. He's stout. He's strong. He's got lateral quicks. So pretty good, man. You guys are going to get a pretty good look here.
Stay with the running back position real quick. The big news of the morning, Bijan Robinson got his extension. How much do you hope, or do you think that can expedite the process with Jameer?
How much do I hope?
I mean, you anticipate
Are you really
that?
asking that? How much do I hope it helps to
Do you
get?
think that Bijan getting his deal will speed up this process?
I mean, I think it's certainly not going to hurt. I mean, it's not going to hurt. But we'll see. We'll see. I'm anxious to get Gibbs back out there. Every day that goes by, that's another day that you feel like you miss with him, and getting him out there with the guys and him being doing his part. So, but there again, man, it'll get done when it gets done.
There's been a lot of moving pieces along the offensive line. One of the guys who kind of brings continuity at his position is Tate. What have you liked about the way he's kind of come back after his first full offseason?
Yeah, I love where Tate came back in the spring. Looked good. You could tell he worked all through that time, and then certainly being in a building with us. He looked much more comfortable, more confident. And then he showed up at camp, man, in great shape. I mean, you could just tell, man, he's worked, and he's trying to be conscientious. One of the things we talked about for him was, obviously consistency. That's what, when you're a rookie, but the pad level, and it's still, it's up and down, but you can tell he's trying and he wants to do it. And because when he bends, and you got to bend when you got Aleem McNeil across from you and Tyleek, those guys low center of gravity, and they can get under you, and they're quick as heck. And so, I mean, that's a blessing to be able to go against Aleem every day. That you got to be on it. But man, his attitude is right. You can tell that he came in saying, I want to be much better than I was last year. I'm going to clean a lot of this stuff up, and everything I've seen to this point has been good. I mean, he looks good. I'm glad he's here.
What have you seen from George so far? Greg Dortch.
Excuse me.
Has he surprised you at all, Dortch, with the way he's playing, or is this what you expected?
Well, there again, until we really get into a lot more of some of these team settings, particularly in the return game, I want to be careful. But just watching his movement skills and the drill work as a returner, and even some of the little things as a receiver, it's even better than I thought. Just, there's things about him. I mean, you watch him maneuver through some of these drills, and it looks pretty good. So that's pretty exciting, like Dortch, he's working. He's wants to be one of the guys and adapt to what we do and how we do it. And I think every day he gets a little bit better and learns how we go through and do what we do.
We saw Devin White mix in with the first team defense yesterday. I know it's early with him still, but how do you maybe see him fitting into this defense?
Well, obviously the will linebacker is something that suits him very well. Just his body type, the type of linebacker he's been in our system too. I mean, the system suits him. So, I thought yesterday, I mean, there was a couple of wild plays in there. I mean, one, he came downhill and just, that's what we expect. I mean, and he can still run. You can see that. And so we just get his weight down a little bit and, make sure that we continue to work him into practice, be smart with him, and then see where he can go with it. But it's an opportunity, so.
When you opened practice yesterday.
Well, I'm sorry, say it again.
When you opened padded practice yesterday, you did the kind of one-on-one tackling drill that we've seen a lot, but not live tackling, as I think we've seen on the first day of padded practice before. Kind of what went into that decision?
Well, it was, all right, let's just do it to where these guys get a feel. It's crazy how you saw that drill, how under control and all this. And then the minute you say, okay, hey, it's live, even though the runner cannot run you over, you're not allowed to. You cannot run over the tackler in that drill. That's not what we want is collision. You get one move. But the minute you do that, all of a sudden, a lot of techniques change. Now, some of them don't. Some of these guys are on point, but it's amazing. So, man, let's get it, go through it a couple times. The other thing is there were some guys I held out of that drill last year and they got some juice and they got some cuts and they got some. So by not doing it live, you get them and keep them in the drill, which works, the tackler a little bit. So we will get to that drill and do it live for you, Jeremy. It is coming, my friend. I'm telling you. I'm glad that you're looking at that's good stuff. So, yeah.
At this time last year, a lot of people were curious about what you had in Isaac to slot. Then we saw the one-handed catches, the touchdowns. I'm just curious, in year 2, what does progress look like for him in another new offense? Well,
more growth, It can't just be that. It can't just be down the field one-handed. It can't be, he's got to expand his route tree. He's got to get better at those things. And that's growth into the second year. I mean, that's part. Look, the guy is smart. He busts his tail. He's going to block in the run game. But now some of it is, work at the line of scrimmage, Some of it is once I get into this route, is at the top of the route, some of these digs, maybe it's slant, maybe. And so that's kind of the next progression, man, because we don't see him. He's not just we don't just see that. Okay, this is all this guy does. Now, with every player we have, what do they excel at? And we're going to ask them to do a lot of those things, but we see more than that with him. We think this guy can run the tree, and then he's just got to work through it, every day like everybody else.
We haven't seen any foul plays out of him. Is he still doing everything, all the other little things? Has he improved in those areas that you guys see behind closed doors that maybe you miss in camp, that is, running the routes?
Well, I think there's things right now, like even some of the one-on-one stuff, it's when you start getting into some technique stuff and you're a young player, it's a lot like golf. Look, who you guys play golf? Anybody? Okay, I don't either. All right, so, but apparently it, man, if you're off just a little bit with your technique, everything it's perfect and you're in the flow and you can feel it but all of a sudden, if one thing gets off just a little bit and you kind of get in this, there's a little bit of this funk, right? And then you're trying to solve the issue, and so you change your swing a little bit, and then you've corrected the wrong way, and now and that's what comes with all this, and it comes with all these players too. I mean, and so I would say there's a little bit of that right now. He's just, he's working, and Scotty's working with him, and so he'll get there, man. The guy works his tail off, but that's what practice is about. Okay.
All right, great stuff from Dan Campbell and breaking news this morning. So let's just get right into the live breaking news. All right, so my camera disappeared again in this scene, of course, because why not? Here we go. Good morning. Welcome to the Rise Garden Morning Show. So just a few moments ago, maybe 6 minutes, it was reported by multiple outlets, including Ian Rappaport, Adam Schefter, that Bijan Robinson just signed a record-shattering deal. Record-shattering. Now, I expected Gibbs to be north of $21 million and as high as like $24 million per year. But now, with Gibbs signing what is reported to be a 3-year, $75 million extension with up to $51 million guaranteed is crazy money. Crazy money. That is now new money of $25 million on average per year and $51 million guaranteed. So what does this mean for Jahmyr Gibbs? Well, in simple terms, Gibbs is probably going to sign for $75.01 all the way up to $101 if the Lions decide to do 4 years or 3 years, depending on where the Lions feel the most comfortable. So now the biggest question for me is, well, did the Lions make a mistake by just trying not to get him a deal that was $22 million? You know, or did they have a feeling that it was going to go this high? We'll never know, of course. And right now, I mean, this deal for Bijan Robinson, it's going to make things very difficult for the Lions and really any organization over the next couple of seasons to retain all of their great players. Let me get out of this screen real quick and switch over. So the breaking news this morning right now is Bijan Robinson just signed a 3-year, $75 million extension with $51 million guaranteed, which means Jahmyr Gibbs is next. Right? Jahmyr Gibbs is next. I did a report the other day or in my article in one of the breakdowns. I think it was day one on DetroitFootballJournal.com of the day one of camp. I put in there that, you know, I had an idea, I had a projection that I expected Gibbs to get, you know, way more than what was already being offered to players like Achane, Breece Hall, and others. And now I think that is a lock. I can't see Jahmyr Gibbs signing for less than what Bijan Robinson just signed for. And I'll explain exactly why in just a few moments. Actually, right now, maybe we'll get to it right now.
Zero get on the field.
Let's take a listen to what Jameson Williams had to say yesterday about his guy and why I said that he is the number one, you know, PR guy for JMO. Now, I did this edit yesterday morning, yesterday afternoon, something like that. And I just thought it was hilarious. I was trying to be funny with it, right? It's trying to cut as much of the good stuff from JMO as possible. But here we go.
When Zero get on the field, it's game changing for us. To me, he unstoppable. He get through the line of scrimmage, he goes 70. Get through the line of scrimmage, make somebody miss. I love playing with him. I love watching him. Like, he got one of the best games I ever seen. Because he the best of the best.
Should Jahmyr be the highest paid running back?
Yeah, of course. Stacking. Of course, no question. He the best. Because he the best of the best. I wouldn't even say look at the stats, look at the film. Nobody close. Because he the best of the best. Like, we probably in two different situations, you know. Because he the best of the best. His is different. He like the best player in the NFL. Stacking. You know, I'm really excited for him. I know what he could do for us, and I know what he could do for himself and his team. You know, he's a real great player. I think one of the best in this league. Nobody close. Hopefully, coming up, we get to see my boy, you know, get something done, so he could be back out here with us. I love playing with him. I love watching him.
Well, there you have it. I mean, Jameson Williams has said it. He's the best of the best. There's nobody close. And gotta love JMO, man. JMO's having such a great year this year. I can feel it. I can feel the energy. I can feel the growth. I can feel the maturity. And look, he's proud of his guy. He said that they're in two different situations. You know, JMO's still ascending. JMO still wants to become one of the best receivers in the league. And he was very clear by saying, I'm not one of the best receivers in the league. And yesterday he was snubbed, right? He was snubbed out of the top 100. Or whenever the top 100 came out, he was snubbed out of it. I think he belongs in there, but you know, maybe that's just another piece of added fuel to his season this year to play better, right? And he's focusing on that. He's mentioned multiple times. I know some of you disagreed with me about his drops last year. You know who you are. I won't call you out. Good morning, Raw. But anyway, so JMO's talked about it all year. You know, he has to focus on the catches. He has to focus on the drops. He has to focus on being better. And so I love that. But back to Gibbs here. Do the Lions actually get a deal done? They have to if they want this player on the field. There's no question now that he is the best player in the league. I've always felt that way. He's 1-2, and on most days he's number one. There's a lot that Bijan Robinson does that is just absolutely electric. And in the right offense, yeah, if we had Bijan Robinson or Jahmyr Gibbs, quite honestly, I think that we would have a very similar offense, probably the same offense. I think that they're kind of interchangeable, but I think that there's some things that Jahmyr Gibbs that are just different. And he's just a different guy. And J-Mo, I think, said it best yesterday. He breaks that line of scrimmage, he's gone for 70. He breaks the line of scrimmage and he makes somebody miss. He puts them on ice skates and he's gone for a first down or 20 or touchdown or whatever. That's Jahmyr Gibbs all day. All day. And so now the Lions are faced with having to put out yet again another massive deal. Another massive deal. And the question is, how can they do it? How can they pull it off? Remember that I mentioned to you guys just a few days ago, a week ago, whatever it was, that next year I'm planning on the Lions having to lose somebody. They're going to lose somebody. And Kirby Joseph is not included in that conversation. That's a separate deal. I'm not sure where we're going to end up with Kirby, if he can play, if he can't play. I'm holding out hope that he can play. We're going to get into today's training camp, or yesterday's training camp. So yesterday afternoon, man, I had the most wicked headache, and I was down like all afternoon. And then, of course, I had to take like a 5-hour nap. It was terrible. I don't know where it came from, but worst headache I've had in a long time. And so then, of course, I get up at like 10 o'clock, and then I'm up till 2 o'clock in the morning working. And so here we are. I didn't get a lot out last night. I did get my article out last night. I think I published it about 1 o'clock this morning. So that's out there. And that's what I want to go through this morning. I went through everything and anything. Like I've been trying to put together a good template. I think I got it dialed in now. And we'll roll through it. It's not short, that's for sure. There's a lot of action yesterday. There's a lot of good things that happened yesterday in yesterday's camp, and exactly what I expected to have happen happened. And that was pads come on, offensive line, defensive line. They're going to start to really separate themselves. So let's transition into training camp news, and we're going to do that. Right after Robbie explains himself. Good morning, Rob. Good morning to everybody else, man. Jay Mommy, Eric Green. Who else is in here? Brian Willand. Of course, Trace, Super Lights. Good morning, Eric. Way out there in Iowa this morning, right? Visiting family. Cruising. Edge is not the answer. Edge, I promise you, we will talk about Cade Mays and Tyleek Williams. I have a bit of a take on that I think a lot of people are going to disagree with. And again, we cannot take a one-on-one, one rep and say that Cade Mays is a bad center. It was all over social media yesterday. Oh my God, we got a center problem. Oh my God, he's worse than Graham Glasgow. Oh my God, Cade Mays sucks. No, he doesn't. And one rep doesn't define a player, right? One highlight reel doesn't define a player, because how many players have had multiple highlight reels in college and then suck in the NFL, like straight up bust, right? It happens all the time. One highlight reel does nothing. In yesterday's practice, the first practice with pads, and you don't get any help from your other offensive lineman or defensive lineman because you're doing one-on-ones, that was a great rep for Tyleek. But like I've been saying, I told y'all, Tyleek Williams is an absolute beast, and he's going to tear it up this year. He stays healthy. He's going to get into that top defensive tackle conversation very soon. Whether it happens this year or not, he's going to be really close to getting into that top 10, top 15, I think, this season. And I think it's an incorporation of the entire defensive line that's going to help him get there, but also his own willingness to work hard and his weight transformation and everything else, adding all that muscle, getting faster, getting leaner, is going to pay off in big dividends here in 2026. But we'll talk about that. Breaking down Dan Campbell's press conference this morning. Ferksker, if you didn't hear, has a broken fibula or fractured fibula, so he's going to be out probably the majority of the season, at least 3 months. Vaki ended up breaking his nose when he got poked in the eye. He's going to be out probably a few weeks. Broken nose takes at least a couple weeks to heal. As far as the break itself, could take a little bit longer. I don't know why these guys aren't wearing shields. And I hope everybody got the message yesterday when this happened, that if you don't have a shield on, you better put one on. I think it should be mandatory for these guys, offense and defense. Like, just put a clear shield on, protect your eyes. It's not that big a deal. It's not gonna slow your game down. Who cares what you look like? Put a clear shield on. You know, it might help you with some sun too to put a little tint on, just a little bit. Defensive line work, they flew, man. They were the biggest part of yesterday's practice. Devin White. The one key thing I took out of Dan Campbell was his weight. They want to get his weight down so that he can be more manageable in certain down and distance situations. Obviously in the coverage, maybe he didn't come in where he wanted to be. I assume that he passed the conditioning test, right? His physical, but they'll get that weight down and he'll be just fine. Give him a couple weeks. Talking about weight, so we're going to throw back to Dan Campbell, Dan Patrick. So Dan Patrick, if you guys don't know, he's retiring. Yeah, I think in 2028. I think is what he said. 2028 is when he's going to retire. But every morning, or every show, when people would call in, I used to listen to him religiously, and I don't listen to him much anymore. But when people would call in, it was always, they'd give their height, weight, and then you'd hear a little boxing bell. And so I thought, that'd be kind of cool to carry on his tradition. And kind of do something similar like that. So I've been putting my weight and height in there because obviously I'm on a weight loss journey and trying to get in better shape myself, adding 20 pounds of muscle and dropping about 40 pounds of weight and then going back up. About 50 pounds of weight and then going back up. I want to get really close to my high school playing weight and we'll see if I can do it. I mean, at 46 years old, call it a midlife crisis, I guess. I want to get back in good shape, and I'm taking full control of my life. So today I weighed in at 243.4, coming all the way down from like 262.5 pounds. This winter was tough. All last year was tough. Everything that I battled really since 2020 after the neck and the back injury and then cancer in 23. I mean, it's just been a gauntlet. So I'm going to do it because I'm going to project hopefully good energy onto you that you will take better care of yourself as well. We want you here for a long time. We've already lost some of our listeners, and they've passed away, and that's sad to hear, right? So I just it's time to take care of yourself, right? Let's get pumping right into training camp. Yesterday's breakdown, and we're going to do that right after this ad, right now.
Every day, thousands of people are discovering Uperlights, Michigan's newest, funnest rock to go find on the shores of the Great Lakes. Don't go out with just any light. Try the Convoy C8 from Uperlights.com. It's guaranteed for life, and you'll find all the ones everyone else misses. Quality UV lights that are perfect for Uperlights with prices starting as low as $20. Please make sure to visit Uperlights.com for all your UV flashlight needs with the best guarantees on the market. Just what you wanted and not what you didn't. The best quality, the best guarantees, and the best UV flashlights from Uperlights.com.
All right, good morning. Welcome in. It is August 4th. It is just about 8:30 in the morning. We just listened to Dan Campbell's press conference. We just found out that Bijan Robinson signed a record-setting deal, 3 years, extension, $25 million, $51 million in total guarantee. And so now we're going to get into yesterday's breakdown since I didn't get an opportunity to do that. Of course, if you have questions, statements, if there's things that you'd like to talk about this morning, make sure you put it in caps so that I see it. And if I don't see it right away, because I'll stop and take breaks probably every 15 minutes, and then I'll look, put it in again. I'll wind back to the chat and I'll find it. If it's not in caps, I'm probably going to roll right through it. Before I go, though, Trace, explain your statement. I'm trying to understand what you mean there because, one, I think where you're going with this, you're right. And I think it's a great opportunity to talk about it. So you said, so he's not actually holding in to the degree people think. Some of the time we are seeing is also on Brad. If I understand what you're trying to say there, like, because Brad is, I mean, he's not putting the deal together. He's not giving him, $26 million a year or whatever he's asking for. Is that what you mean? Help me understand, help everybody else understand, because this is a two-way street. And if anyone's blaming Jahmyr Gibbs, they should stop right away because he's going to come in, he's going to play well, right? We know that. He's going to come in and he's going to dominate, honestly. And he knows this team. He's been there every day. He's been going through the class. He's been going through some walkthroughs on the sideline. He's been watching from afar. He's just not out there practicing. And so if he misses 5 practices and the deal gets done today, which now I'm expecting that it probably will, then he'll be back out there tomorrow. No harm, no foul, right? He'll be in, he'll be fine. But that's also partly on the organization, holding back. And I think it was a mistake for them to sign or allow, Bijan Robinson to sign first. I wanted them to try to get it done before this mega deal, but clearly these agents talk, right? Players talk. And if they know that their agent is offering, or requesting north of 24, 25 million a year, who knows? Maybe they were shooting for 30 and they settled at 25. Maybe the Falcons were only trying to give him a 1 or 2 year deal. Maybe they're trying to give him a 5-year deal. And they said, no way. Let's talk real quick before we get into the training camp breakdown. Let's talk real quick about what makes more sense for Jahmyr Gibbs and his extension. Do you think that it makes more sense? Oh, I see. Hold on, I'll wind back. Grandma Trace says, that's why I said that. Blaming Gibbs is what I've seen, and that's not fair. Yeah, 100% spot on. Appreciate that. So, yeah, blaming Gibbs. Look, he's 50% of it. Really, he and his agent are 50% of it. Brad Holmes is 50% of it. You have to put equal blame on both of them, but honestly, this is a big deal. Like, this is big money. This is potentially franchise-altering type of a contract when you're paying a running back this kind of a money after you've paid a tackle, an edge, a receiver, another receiver, a linebacker, right? You've paid a lot of guys. Derek Barnes, Kirby Joseph, and you still have 2 more big deals in front of you, at least on the horizon before next season opens. So this is franchise-altering money. They are now, playing craps in the back office wondering, who are we going to lose next year, right? Who are we going to lose? And they're going to have to lose somebody because they're not going to be able to withstand these types of contracts going out from this magnitude to all of these players. How can you now fit Brian Branch and Sam Laporta in at roughly $20 million each? Sam Laporta came out and said straight up, they feel unappreciated. They being tight ends feel unappreciated and undervalued. Even after, a couple of really big mega deals that went out to these tight ends over the last couple of years. Travis Kelce making around $19 million a year on average for the last couple of years. Trey McBride, signed a big deal. They feel undervalued and underappreciated. And he said something to the fact that, we're out there blocking guys that are making $40 million. And then we have to go out there and catch like receivers that are making $30 million. That tells me he wants way more money than what the highest number is out there already. Is he worth it? I think he's a great dude. I think he's a great football player. But I don't see how you can pay a tight end $25 million or 24 or 22 when you hopefully, Brad, should have been bringing them in the draft. That is one position and safety that they should have been targeting in the draft over the last couple of years, getting ready for it. We can't just have Brock Wright and, Jackson Meeks hopefully will be a great, tight end hybrid for us, but we need another tight end. Obviously, that room is depleted right now. We need another tight end or 2, or do the Rams and have 4 really good football players. And none of them are making break-the-bank money. So I think you draft a tight end every freaking year. You have to. I don't think you can pay Sam Laporta. I think they're going to end up trading him. And that's going to suck. But, I see the same thing happening to him that happened to TJ Hawkinson. Obviously, 2 different players. I think Sam Laporta is a much better tight end than Hawkinson will ever be. Hawkinson was unique. He had the gift, but he's nowhere near as special as what Sam Laporta is. So now you're looking at what's more relevant for a contract for Jahmyr Gibbs. What's more relevant? Or I guess what makes more sense? Because if you give him a 3-year deal on top of the 5th-year option, you now have 4 more years of control over Jahmyr Gibbs, and that is through his prime. And you know what? Running backs at that point in their career are pretty much done. Right? They don't. There's not a whole lot of running backs in the league that are playing to a high level after 28 years old, which Jahmyr Gibbs would be after this contract. Now, age is just a number, right? I mean, some players play, if he stays healthy, he could play a lot longer. I just don't see where you pay a running back more than 3 years that it makes sense. If you're going to rip up that 5th-year option, then it would make sense to do a 4-year deal at the most. And then it gives them the option to backload the deal, right? You're going to have to give him a good signing bonus to be able to backload the deal. And that's what these teams look to do, right? If he got $51 million guaranteed, I don't know what his signing bonus is going to be. Well, let's just say his signing bonus is probably going to be about 50% of that, of the guaranteed money. So he might get 25, 26 million guaranteed. And then how they pay that out, there could be some, this year, there could be some next year. But either way, if they backload this deal like they have been and kind of, play trickle-down economics, then it'll work. It'll work for a franchise, for a football team. Not so much in our country, but for a football team, it'll work. But then at some point, everything converges, right? Everything starts to come together. Everything runs together. And then you have to have that conversation. Who we selling? Who we getting rid of? Who we trading? Can we sign the next guy? Thankfully, the Lions have done a good job protecting their draft picks for the future. And they have all of their draft picks, or the majority of their draft picks moving forward. I think actually they do have all their draft picks moving forward. I'm not even going to look it up, but I think they do. How do they get more? They need to land another 2023 draft. I would say next season is the season. You're probably looking at bringing in a drafted quarterback. Dare I say the Lions might crack one in the first round. And then you're looking at supplementing the tight end position and the safety position. And then you're probably looking at supplementing the running back position. But I'll tell you right now, Isaiah Pacheco is not here on a 1-year deal. If Isaiah Pacheco works out this year and he stays healthy, he's not here on a 1-year deal. He will be back. And they'll probably give him a 2-year deal after this one if he plays well and stays healthy. And if he produces the way that we're expecting him to produce. He's looked great in camp so far. He's, I hate to use the word gadget guy, but when I think of gadget, I'm not just thinking of plays, gadget plays. I'm thinking of what was the old cartoon, Inspector Gadget from back in the day? He just had every little gadget you could think of. Right? Pacheco can be that kind of a player. You can put him in any situation and he can survive, right? And he can play well. So now you're looking at this from the standpoint of how do we walk away from this? Well, maybe they do sign Gibbs to a massive deal. And maybe after next season, they trade him. Maybe after 2027, they trade him. And then they get a couple, maybe at least one first-round pick for him if he's still playing well. And then they reset. And you get rid of the contract. That deal would have to be structured that way. That if they do trade him, that they don't have, a big number in front of them that they have to eat. So we'll see how that goes. So you tell me in the comments, after the show and then in the chat right now, what is the most important way to structure Jahmyr Gibbs' contract? Is it 3 years? And you extend, on top of the 5th? Is it a new deal 4 years? And you just start anew in 2027? Or is it a 5-year deal and you rip up this year? And I don't know if they can do that. I have no idea. I think they can. I think they can really do whatever they want with contracts. Maybe it's a 5-year deal that starts this year. I don't know. Maybe it's a brand new deal. If it's a 5-year deal, it makes sense because that's really only keeping him like a 3-year extension would be. But that way you could really structure it any way you want to. Next year, he's getting $14.3 million no matter what on that 5th-year option. And so how are you going to structure this so that you can pay him that kind of money next year, and then the next year after that, you're potentially paying out $25 million on average. That means if they backload this deal, it's just 3 years. If you backload this deal, he's probably going to be owed $45 million in that third year of that deal. It's going to be as high as a quarterback. And so that's why I'm thinking next year you're probably taking a quarterback to really groom, because how are you going to be able to continue to pay Jared Goff? By 2028, I think it's going to be damn near impossible to keep all these players together. Anyway, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. It's going to be really hard for these guys to pull all of this off. J-Rod, appreciate it. Yeah, let's start getting the likes up when you guys come into the show. As you know, every year we'd like to kill the ads. We're going to start doing it again. So if we can get as many likes as we have for viewers, we will start to turn ads off. Now that we know that certain individuals watch this show, obviously we can't count on their likes. But let's get at least 75% viewer to watch ratio in the likes. That made no sense. Viewer to likes ratio. And we get ads turned off. You guys have the first half hour when we start every day. But since we started right now, we'll go till 9 a.m. And what I do is I check it at 9 a.m. So we have 63 watching. So that means, it'd be somewhere in that range of like 45, 48. And we'll get ads dialed way back. So I can't turn them all the way off. I turn them all the way to the lowest is what I'm going to do this year, which is huge for people that don't have premium. And by the way, if you're looking for a deal on YouTube Premium, you can get Google AI Pro right now. And no, they're not a sponsor, but this is something that I just switched to. You can get Google AI Pro right now. So you can get all the best AI tools with Google AI Pro, and you get 5 seats. So you get YouTube Lite with it. And I'll tell you, I canceled my YouTube Premium and I've got YouTube Lite. It's no different. Matter of fact, my back end office looks way different now than it did before. And I have a lot more things that I can see and do. I don't know if it's just because I'm a creator, but there's more features now. So somehow Google AI Pro's YouTube Lite is better than just paying YouTube Premium. So then you get 5 seats. You can share it up to 5 people in your family. We had 3 people paying for YouTube Premium in this family. So we were paying 45, 50, 60 bucks a month, whatever it was. Stupid. So now I pay 20, and we got all of us sharing the same platform, and I got a couple extra seats to give away to other family, like my father. I'll give him a YouTube Premium, or my sister or somebody. So or Megan's family, right? So it's a great way to split it up. Then it's only $4 or $5 a month per person, and it's just a great way to save money, right? Little tips and tricks of the day. Next week, I'll be putting out my second edition of the Lions gear. So this year I started tracking Lions gear. There will be affiliate links in there. So if you do buy something, it does help out the channel. And again, I'm just trying to find the best deals for you guys, the best gear, the gear that lasts the longest, right? I bought shirts, I bought hoodies, I bought jerseys, I bought it all. Hats, socks, underwear, I don't care. I bought everything Detroit Lions. Some stuff just doesn't last. So I've gone and kind of made it a point to now put out an article at least once a month of what are the best deals and the best stuff to buy if you want it to last. This hat is going on 3 years. I think I bought it in it's like 2.5 years. I bought it in 24. And so it just makes a difference when you buy the good stuff. New Era's always been good, and they're willing to work with you if they send you a hat that's not up to your standards. What about franchise tag Gibbs 3 times? You can't do that. There's no way you could do that. If you franchise Gibbs 3 times, that third time, he would be like more than a quarterback. That franchise tag would be north of $55 million as the quarterback contracts sit right now. Who wants to franchise him 3 times? And I think at the end of the day, though, I mean, let's be realistic. Gibbs he's not playing without a contract. But if push comes to shove and they say, you know what, you're under contract, you're playing. If he doesn't show up by week 1, then he starts to lose money. And then if that continues all the way through week 13, then his contract tolls. And then the Lions gain another year of contract eligibility for him and pushes everything out. I don't think Gibbs will do that. I don't think his agent will let him do that. And I don't think that Brad Holmes is going to do that. I think they're going to try to put something in place here. But yeah, you had the option of the franchise tag. And that is no longer, I think, an option for Jahmyr Gibbs. I don't think it is. I don't think it's going to happen. Yeah, they did mention Gibbs had a little bit of a back issue, Trace, but we have to remember something, too. You remember Anzalone last year? The magical hammy, right? And then as soon as he got that extra, he actually, what I had recommended as a projection is just guarantee the rest of his contract. And that's exactly what the Lions did. And I think they threw an extra $250,000 on top of it. So they guaranteed the rest of his contract. And he was in practice the next day. And he was fine. So remember, these guys that hold out or hold in, they have a hammy. And in Gibbs' case, they have, he has a stiff back, right? And look, I think once his deal gets done, he'll be in practice the next day. I couldn't imagine that it wouldn't be. It doesn't mean that the Lions won't hold him back a little bit just to make sure that he's ready to go, that he's in shape, which I expect that he's going to be in shape. I know it sounds like a funny word, but there's football shape and then there's in shape, right? You can work out, you can have the biggest muscles in the world, but if they're not, if they're not ready to perform 65 snaps a day, there's a difference. There's a big difference. I do want to, before I get into camp, I do have to put this up this morning. This morning I was perusing the old YouTube, and I saw, Jake Bates. Or not Jake Bates. Jake Paul. And he was sitting on the Pivot podcast. I could have sworn I reposted this. Hold on. Oh, it signed me out. So he was on the Pivot podcast. And probably the most disrespectful human on this planet. You won't believe, if you haven't seen this, you won't believe what he said. My jaw just hit the floor. I'm going to play the audio because I can't play the video. So this will be about 4 minutes, and then I promise we'll jump into we'll jump into yesterday's breakdown. So it's about 4 minutes long. And so he's sitting with, Ryan Clark, and then I forget the other guys' names that are on this podcast. I always do. And it's just so disrespectful. I couldn't believe. Here it is. You hear it for yourself.
I bench more than all of you, guaranteed. And that's just like right now. And I don't even practice bench pressing. I'll squat more than all of you. I'm faster than all of you. Like, actually. And
that's not true.
Yeah, it is true. We can go down in the street after this. But that's the thing. So, like.
What a douchebag.
When words are cheap.
Why, if you make all this money, do you just keep doing things and trying to pick things that's going to get you hurt?
I mean, pain is temporary. Legacy is forever. So, like.
Let's go. I saw that X-ray.
Yeah.
X-rays forever too.
It's temporary though. Like on God, honestly, it didn't even. The punch didn't even hurt.
Get real, bro.
I swear on everything, brother. Like it didn't hurt at all.
I mean, he said, "Whoa," right?
I was just like, "Whoa," that was like a good hit. But there's been things in life that hurt a lot worse. Like when you stub your toe, bro, that shit hurts way more.
Now he's not lying there. Like stubbing your toe is the worst damn thing ever to happen on the planet, especially the pinky. I've broken 2 toes by stubbing them on stairs after I broke my back and neck. That perception with my body was off. I don't know. I kept kicking stairs and I broke 2 toes doing that. That shit is painful. Even stubbing the toe is bad, but this dude is he's god awful, man.
By Anthony Joshua, honestly.
But you're sitting with 3 football players, right? To have the audacity to say it out loud that that's what you're going to do. 29 years old, to have not stepped on a professional football field. What makes you so confident that you can do what we were able to do for a living?
Yeah, I think just God believing in myself, and manifestation and self-belief are some of the most powerful things in the world. And I have God-given talents and athleticism. When I said I was going to box and beat
Bro, you got steroids and peptides.
all of these people and beat Ben Askren and Nate Robinson, Tyron Woodley, Anderson Silva, it was the same response that I'm getting.
Hold on. So you just said you beat up a bunch of washed up MMA fighters? Okay. Not boxers? Good job.
Now when I say I'm going to go
Because you didn't have the background.
play slot receiver because there was no background. I was YouTuber this, YouTuber that. And
Still
so I'm
are.
a doer and a talker at the same time, but I always back it up. I have hands, run some routes, catch some balls, block some people. It can't be that hard. Boxing is way more difficult than football.
That is
and I'm
also
only
not true.
It's 100% true.
it's-
Again, study was
there's
released
not
like
even-
a month ago. The
there's-
hardest sport in the world is boxing.
They
Number
took
11
90,
was MMA.
They took 90, professional analysts of sports and did a study on what the hardest sports are in the world are, and the number one on
Was
there
boxing.
is boxing.
So hold on, bro. Hold on. God, this guy infuriates me. He infuriates me. I get it. Boxing is tough. I did it. It's extremely tough. But you are dancing around a ring for 5 minutes at a time. That is all endurance. That's all that is endurance. Go take 60 snaps playing on offense or defense where you're getting hit on every single play. You are guaranteed to take a lick on just about every single play, and you're running full speed at least 60 times a game, at least. And then all the practices, all the prep time, having to actually have the brain power to understand a playbook, right? I think he's been hit in the head too many times. I get it that boxing is physically demanding and it takes a ton of courage, but endurance. But so does football, because you're using all of your explosive energy all at once, and then you're doing it like 60 times a game. It is nowhere near the same as boxing. I get it. Boxing is a very tough, MMA is a very tough sport. Kickboxing, very tough sport. I mean, all the sports are tough. But playing football, playing hockey, two totally different parallels, but not the same. Not the same.
And I'm in there by myself. You guys have 10 other players on the field to help you out.
Nah, bro. You still one-on-one. You still have to beat guys one-on-one. It is not just a team game. Yes, it is the best team game on the planet, but you yourself have to do your job. And if you can't do your job, then the rest of the team is going to fall to bits. Can't stand this guy.
And so the mentality is different, the pressure is different, the focus is different, and the training is harder. It's a marathon and a sprint. You guys get a minute in between each play to regroup.
Not all the time.
Kidding? You guys get to bring out some.
This
You
is
guys
like a
could bring
Bud
out.
conversation. You know, Jake, when Bud sits there and tells me that, then I'm like, yeah, but you're Bud Crawford. I get it. But to just be like, I'm going to run a couple of routes, I'm going to block some people, I'm going to catch the ball, how hard can it be?
But we talking about.
Yeah, wait, but is it harder than that? Like, what's the difference? Like, it's just a speed thing.
We talking about Jamar Chase and Jetta and those type guys. We're talking about the best receivers in the world that you're trying to compete with.
That's an outside receiver, like not a slot receiver, completely different.
You sat around and watched what?
It just tells me he doesn't have a clue. Justin Jefferson doesn't just play outside. He plays all over the place. He plays in condensed formations. He plays behind the line of scrimmage. He plays out wide. He plays everything. Yep, I want him to. I want some NFL team to give him a shot, and I want all of the best defenders to be there. I want Myles Garrett off the edge. I want Aiden Hutchinson off the edge. I want to see Jack Campbell in the middle. I want to see Fred Warner in the middle. I want to see Brian Branch as a safety. Give me the best hitters out there, right? Go give him some hospital balls, please. Somebody throw him some hospital balls, and then when you peel yourself up off the grass, you tell me that it ain't that difficult, not that hard. I mean, the biggest disrespect in the world.
Wes Welker play, and you like, oh shoot, I can go do that.
Yeah, 100%. No, definitely. He's the perfect example.
Cold.
Those are different level athletes than me. I'm talking about the white guy, Wes Welker, who is this big. What's he gonna do?
What does color have to do with it? Has nothing to do with it.
Bro,
you underestimate
What do you
him.
mean, bro?
And you can do that at that level.
Yeah, 100%.
You can't go do that. I think you're truly discounting how talented these people are at doing that one thing. Now,
I'm not saying that they're not. I'm just saying that it's not as hard as people are making it out to be.
That's why you are where you are.
If I go in there and I'm a bum, guess
And
what?
you will be.
Who cares? Now what? I've been.
What a joke. What an absolute joke. I guess you guys tell me in the comments later in the chat right now, do you agree with this dude? Do you think it's just no big deal? Like anybody can just play in the NFL? I mean, you're talking about the top 1% of 1% male athletes that are playing at the pinnacle of this game. I mean, you go look at some of these players out there. I mean, just Malcolm Rodriguez, for instance. Very similar body type to Jake. 5'10", 240 pounds. That's about Jake. And Malcolm is an elite athlete, elite wrestler. And even he might be relegated to a backup spot as a linebacker. Now, he wants to play offense. Why? Because you think you're going to get protected across the middle? Not by running your act like this. There was a play yesterday in the Cleveland Browns game, or the Cleveland Browns practice. They completely laid this dude out. And all you heard was chirping on the sideline. Like he's been running his mouth all day. And then they laid him out. That's exactly what I hope happens to Jake Paul. I hope they lay him out. All right, now let's talk about camp day number 5 right when we get back. Man, he infuriates me.
The season is here, and you want the latest news and rumors on your Detroit Lions. Head to sportspider.com. That's sports, SPYDER.com, where you can get your Lions news and all your sports in one place. Man, this site is packed with your favorite podcasts, live news, articles from local writers, and insiders, all updating in real time. Not just the Lions, every major sports team, including MMA, UFC, and so much more. Don't want to waste time searching? Sign up for free. Create your ultimate sports news hub. You control what hits your feed at SportsSpider, your number one source for all your sports. Visit SportSpider.com today, right after the show.
All right, let's do this, man. Yesterday was a solid practice for the Lions. There's a lot of great storylines that came out. There was some highlight reels that came out. And I'm just going to tell y'all right now, man, I have in my mind right now, even though I go against my own advice at times, that it's early in training camp right now. And it's really hard to evaluate players just after one practice. And I love what Dan Campbell said in one of his press conferences, might have been yesterday, matter of fact, where one of the reporters, I don't know who, and I'm not throwing shade or anything, but they said, Ahmed Hassanein's really been standing out, has been playing well, kind of been all over the place. And kind of was saying like, he's doing a really good job. He's playing above his means, whatever he had said, was putting Ahmed Hassanein in a really good light. And then he mentioned another player as well, and I forget the exact player's name. But anyway, Dan Campbell just said, look, we're just now getting to the pads. Like, I don't care what happened before this day. You have to evaluate these players over the next week of being in pads and then seeing how the dynamic shifts. Can they be the same player that they were in OTAs, in minicamp, in unpadded practices when the pads come on? And so there was a couple of defining lines yesterday in yesterday's practice and a couple of defining moments. And the lines, obviously offense and defensive lines, both stood out as expected. We were waiting for the pads to come on. and they didn't disappoint. There was a highlight reel on Cade Mays, and I think I have it ready to go. I don't know who put this out, so I don't know who to credit, because like 5 or 6 people tried to claim that they put this video out, and one person tried to claim that it wasn't even there. So I don't know who put it out, but I'm just going to give credit to the Detroit Lions media. Obviously, a lot of things will come out from beat reporters that are there taking some video when they're allowed to. And then Detroit Lions media that are taking videos. I tried to look on the Detroit Lions Twitter page and PR page. I didn't see it. I may have missed it, but I didn't see it. All I'm saying is this video of Cade Mays and Tyleik Williams is exactly what you're expecting. Is exactly what you're expecting out of a second-year guy that is making a big jump. I'll fix that. Let's kind of break this down a little bit. And it was a vertical shot, so it's not the best. I'm going to try to clean it up, put it into 4K. Take a listen to what the guy said, too. There's a big chirping going off the side. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to point out here is if you look at Tyleik Williams' launch, I'm going to try to play it and stop it. Oh, come on. It's tough to stop it. All right, so if you look at his launch here, honestly, he probably could have got a lot lower. And Tyleik Williams was really low on underneath. I mean, look at Cade. You could just tell if you look just behind with his Tate Ratledge right there. I believe that's Tate. He's already standing straight up, feet are flat. So if you look at the white cleat, that's the second cleat in from the right. That is Cade Mays' right foot. His foot is flat, exactly where you can't be. His back is not arched enough. He's not in a prime position. He doesn't have an anchor set. And so once Tyleik Williams got underneath his pads, underneath his chest, that is why you can see right there, he's underneath his chest. It's too late. You've responded late. You didn't put yourself in a good position. Now, what did we hear yesterday and what did we see all over social media? Cade Mays, wrong center to pick. I told you we should have had somebody else, right? Cade Mays is no good. Cade Mays sucks. Blah, 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 blah. Look, the guy played 20 straight games at center, and he's only given up 0 sacks, 14 pressures, and I think it was 2 quarterback hits, maybe, somewhere. I'm pretty close. That's elite play. That is what an all-pro center does. Cade Mays, it's the first day of practice, man. It's the first day of pads. Even your vets are going to make mistakes. You win some, you lose some, right? Penei Sewell lost one. Aiden Hutchinson lost one. It's going to happen. Cade Mays is going up against Tyleik Williams, who, in my opinion, should have been picked earlier in the draft. I think he'll end up being the best tackle out of that draft. Defensive tackle. Has completely revolutionized his body fat and his composition this year. And that what you just saw was a perfect get low, bull rush, and drive, man. He was working those pistons of legs to drive Cade Mays all the way to Rotunda. I mean, if big old Skip wasn't right there holding the football as the quarterback, who knows? They could still be going right now. Tyleik got the better of him. But what happened later is Cade Mays settled in. And Cade Mays didn't make another mistake. And Cade Mays had a great practice. So one highlight reel does not explain everything. I warned y'all about this 3 weeks ago. In 7-on-7, in 5-on-5, We're and especially in unpadded practice, there's going to be highlight reels. This UDFA is going to be an all-pro, and you know what I mean? This rookie is going to be an all-pro because of one catch, one hit, one tackle, whatever. It is the furthest thing from the truth. Now, here's what I do believe. I do believe that Tyleik Williams is going to be a different man this year. I do believe that Tyleik Williams stays healthy this year. He's going to end up being in that top 15 conversation for defensive tackles, and it's really difficult to get there. Top 15 is amazing. When you look around the league and you've got, 32, call it 64, maybe up to 74, 76 starting level defensive tackles in this league. Depending on what system you run, putting a guy like Tyleik Williams, a second year in the NFL, at number 15, that's tough to get there, but I think he can do it. Now, is he going to have the stats to go with it? Probably. For other people to rank him that high, he's going to have the stats to do it. I think it's going to be how he changes the scope of the defensive line, how he changes the effectiveness of the defensive line, allows other guys to do their job. He doesn't have to be a stat monster to be a top 15 defensive tackle. Some of the best defensive tackles don't have stats at all. But what they do allow is your linebackers to stay clean, and they allow your linebackers to fit the run, and they allow your linebackers to fit a gap and then hit the hole and pound a running back for a loss or get to the quarterback. Right? That's what you expect out of Tyleik Williams. In playing next to Ali McNeil, who's been playing great, and yesterday he was a bit quiet. Yesterday was a quiet day for Ali McNeil. At least I didn't see anything or hear anything. I didn't get any reports on Ali McNeil. Very quiet day for him, but that doesn't matter either. Right? Tyleik Williams had a great day. Cade Mays also had a great day. It just so happened that this one got blasted out on social media. And so let's settle down on the Cade Mays as a bust conversation. And the Brad Holmes made a mistake because it's way too early. Way too early in the process for us to be evaluating players to that degree. All right, so let's go start to finish. And if you guys haven't subscribed to DetroitFootballJournal.com, now's your chance. I just hooked everybody up yesterday with their free trial. I do it once a week. So if you subscribe in the month of August, you'll be getting a 30-day, and then I do surprise some people with up to a year for free on DetroitFootballJournal.com. And then I want to thank all of the new subscribers and all of the new paid subscribers, all the annual subscriptions. We've had several over the last week. And some great comments, some great messages. Really appreciate y'all for the support. I'm still kind of learning my way through figuring it out and having enough time to balance all of these things. It's a lot of work. It's a ton of work. So I'm a little delayed on some things. And like I said, I'm still working through trying to perfect my system. It's going to take some time. So Lions camp day 5. The Lions entered probably the most revealing phase yesterday of training camp, and that's pads, man. This is the first time the pads come on. It was a 90-minute session, roughly. They wound it back from the day before. As Dan Campbell mentioned, they're going to go a little bit lighter. It's a designed way. They're going into a 4-day stretch of increasing all the physical work, and Detroit emphasized the run game, pass pro, run fits, open field tackling, and some one-on-one competition between the offensive and defensive lines. With that offensive and defensive competition between the lines, there was also what is like the Oklahoma drill that they ran. I was talking about it yesterday, that I used to do it, different version of it. But yesterday they did the one-on-one where you had to stop the ball carrier. Dan Campbell made a shift in how he was orchestrating this drill. There was no tackling allowed. It was a 2-hand touch, and that was it. So your goal is to stop the player, right? Get in front of him, stop the player before they would take him to the ground. So Dan is being conscious of impact and contact and injuries. However, I do have to say something about the injury part of it. I need you all to pay attention to when pads come on and when pads were off. Because for the first 3, 4, 5 days of NFL practices, for the majority of the NFL, for the teams that didn't start early, how many soft tissue and ligamental injuries have we had throughout the NFL already without any pads? Without any hitting? A ton. And a ton more than usual. So this whole theory that you can't practice hard, that you can't hit, that you can't tackle, is hogwash. Because we've had more injuries on every team in the NFL just about. There's only a couple that haven't really suffered anything major than we've ever had before, that we've ever witnessed before. So I think that what Dan has been doing in all the years past has been just fine. It's a narrative that has been driven by, in my opinion, toxic media. And of course, fans want the best players out there. I get it. But generally, the injuries that are happening in non-contact drills. That means that injury was probably ready to happen either way. That means that ligament was already, stretched to its max, and they were having problems. Like Conklin. There's a report that I heard about Conklin that his calf injury could have been way worse, and they're managing it because they don't want it to get worse. And sometimes it's those calf injuries, calf tightness, calf cramp, whatever it is, those can turn out to be something far worse. Typically ACL or Achilles, when your calf is affected that bad. And so managing it and trying to heal it up before you put him through the ringer in practice is the right way. But I just have to say that Dan Campbell's practices have been, just fine. They're not abnormal. The amount of injuries is not abnormal. We're seeing stupid stuff happen. A broken nose and a poke in the eye by Vaki. I mean, it's just stupid bad luck. But this is where I would, like I said earlier, I would put it on the Lions staff to, you're not protecting your players the other way. You're not forcing them to wear a shield or a visor. Why are you not forcing them to wear a visor in practice? You force them to wear these stupid helmets, these padded helmets. You need to protect your running backs and your receivers and your cornerbacks that are typically fighting the most with their hands. They have to have some sort of visor protection. And so if any Lions hear this today, if any Lions family members hear this today, if any of the Lions organizations hear this today, go talk to the people that matter and make them put some damn visors on. A stupid poke in the eye could be the worst injury you suffer all year. But it could also keep you out of practice for several days or a week or 2 weeks, in this case for Vaki. And then you may not make the roster, or, you're missing all that time. Those are the simple things that can make a difference. All right, so Dan Campbell, he expected yesterday's portion of camp to really start to separate players, and we're starting to see that. But it's way, way, way too early. The players that are fighting for roles. Day 5 did not really settle any of that. It's way early. It did produce some of the strongest evaluations yet of where the offensive line and defensive front in the developing depth are today. Tyler Lacey has been probably one of the biggest camp darlings, if you will. He's been the most disruptive defender on the field. Christian Mahogany delivered the best performance among Detroit's starting offensive linemen. Jacob Sailors capitalized on an expanded opportunity. And then Keith Abney delivered a crushing blow. I think Dan Campbell mentioned this morning, like maybe not happy about that. Maybe I misunderstood it. Miles Frazier jumped out yesterday. Christian Izien back, continuing to strengthen his opportunity for a position in this roster as a starting safety. During Dan Campbell's presser yesterday, he mentioned quite a few things. So let me give you a recap on Dan Campbell's presser. He explained that the Lions will continue to dedicate practice time to end of half, end of game, 4-minute, and 4-down situations. Devin White said it himself. This is the most situationally aware football team that he's played with. Dan Campbell's goal is to place all these players in high-stress football situations before the regular season forces them to just respond. Now, that muscle memory is either going to respond well or not well enough. Now, the staff can evaluate decision-making, communication, situational awareness, while also identifying the players that remain composed when the outcome of a practice period is placed on just one snap. These periods are designed to force an offense to operate, the clock limitations, the field position demands, and also the objective of where they want that ball to be. Are you kicking a field goal or are you going to the end zone? The defense has to communicate, tackle, get off the field, right? Force the offense to make a mistake and attempt to at least protect the possession or close out a game. Now, I have a new segment that I'm calling Campbell's Corner. It's a quick highlight We'll start with number 1. Campbell would not award a starting right tackle position to Blake Miller based on 4 unpadded practices, but he does like where the rookie's development is thus far. Number 2, Dan Campbell also brought Miles Frazier into the conversation yesterday. Frazier has worked at both tackle positions and both guard spots, has specifically warned all the observers not to overlook Frazier as the line begins to sort itself out. Number 3, Dan Campbell already understands that Rock Yassine's competitiveness and physical approach because of their previous history together. Number 4, I think, is where we are. Dan Campbell continues to see flashes from Rakestraw, but the young corner has also experienced several inconsistencies. Number 5, Dan Campbell said that Nick Whiteside, had produced a play in every practice through the first 4 sessions, forcing his name deeper and deeper into the conversation, and has now been earning some second-team reps. Dan Campbell also did not announce a resolution to Gibbs' contract, but as we heard today with Bijan Robinson, well, that timetable to return is probably now moved up. Dan Campbell did praise wide receiver Cedric Wilson yesterday as a vet, a true professional, a true vet who understands how to prepare, compete, and contribute without arriving with any entitlement. All reasons why I think the Lions make the right decisions on the players that they bring in, and so far it's been paying dividends. Tyler Lacey. Man, Tyler Lacey. Let's kind of skip over to let's skip over to some defensive line conversation here. Let me rewind this a little bit. So let me know in the comments below. I mean, just and in the chat right now, just off the first few bits of Campbell's corner, what's standing out to you? To me, I think Miles Frazier started to make a name for himself. I'm not surprised. I mean, I noticed it in practice. He put Derek Moore into the dirt right away. And Derek Moore wasn't injured at that point. I still don't know where some of the reports that came out said that Derek Moore was having a good day when I was there on Sunday. I didn't see that. I didn't see that at all. I saw a few plays with Derek Moore, and then he kind of disappeared. He wasn't very disruptive, and so I need to either ask some questions or find out more, because I don't want to give you bad information. But I didn't see much out of Derek Moore. I saw Frazier put him into the dirt, and then I saw him get behind the line of scrimmage. I mean, so he penetrated, but he was so deep that it forced Teddy out of the pocket, and then he ended up running upfield. So those aren't good plays. The penetration, great, but those aren't good plays if you didn't finish it, if you didn't stop the play. Again, pads weren't on, so it's kind of tough to evaluate. So we'll kind of leave that as that, I guess. Let me move down here. All right, so my top headlines. So now I have top headlines in my articles. I've always had them, but these are now more indicative of what I feel to be the biggest stories of each day. And right away, I started with Tyler Lacey, because he's really forcing his way, really not only into the rotation, but potential starter here. He's changed, plays. Lacey changed plays from the edge and the interior. He generated pressure against both offensive units and added decisive wins during the one-on-one period. When Detroit entered camp needing clarity behind at least its established defensive linemen, Lacey is starting to produce that type of disruptive work that demands additional snaps. And so far, he's getting them. Christian Mahogany, he's gaining control of that left guard job. He defeated McNeil twice in pass pro yesterday and showed the movement ability to pull across the formation, create space, getting up into the second level in the running game. Juice Scruggs, he remains in a competition with Mahogany. He produced probably the strongest padded performance yesterday and currently looks like the better fit for Petzing's blocking system. More on that later, because we're going to have to track that development through several days of practice to see what happens here, especially when Gibbs gets back into the fold, which I'm expecting to be soon now. And let me say something else on that I didn't put in this article, and I should have. With Gibbs not in, we have to remember that offense is about timing. right? And in understanding how your running back operates, the patience that they play with or lack of patience that they play with, aggressiveness that they play with, or not maybe as aggressive as other running backs. Understanding your running back is key to your blocking style. Again, it's it's just one big choreographed dance. You know how to block for your back when you have consistent reps and you build that muscle memory. You can feel each other. I don't know how to say it any better. I know it sounds weird. It's like that sixth sense, whatever. You can kind of feel where Gibbs is. Just like a left tackle or right tackle and Jared Goff's not looking at them, he can feel where they are. I mean, one, you can kind of hear a little bit, but you can feel it. You know where they're supposed to be. And so missing Gibbs early in practice right now does reduce the effectiveness of the offensive line, at least initially, until Gibbs gets back and inserted into the offensive plan and they get some practices together. It's not going to be a problem. I'm just saying initially it's kind of a problem because you're not gaining those reps early in camp. Miles Frazier. Miles Frazier has become Detroit's most valuable reserve lineman so far through camp. Frazier's handled tackle and guard responsibilities across multiple units, first and second team, without any noticeable decline in his performance. This versatility is giving Hank Fraley and this offensive line protection against injuries and provides the coaching staff with flexibility when selecting active game day offensive linemen. Remember, we want them to bring 8 so they can get that extra additional player. Jacob Sailors obviously had a great opportunity after Vaki went down yesterday, but he turned opportunity into explosive production. Sailors stepped into a larger role again after Vaki's injury and produced a long run and a long touchdown reception. He has placed himself in that running back conversation by showing more speed, receiving ability, and decisiveness when Detroit, I guess more so than what we saw from Jacob Sailors previously last season. Last season, Sailors was relegated to more of the kick and punt return opportunities throughout the season. This year, I expected Sailors to make the roster as the 4th running back, and I think that that's where he's going to end up. Assuming Vaki stays healthy, I think that Sailors will be in the mix. Keith Abney. He's continuing to make negative plays. He's becoming a nuisance for the offense. His run blitz produced an amazing tackle for loss yesterday. He reinforced his reputation as a physical defensive back. The current depth chart placement reflects Isian's return, however, but not a decline in any performance. Abney remained one of Detroit's most productive young defenders through the first 5 practices. He's really making a name for himself right now. And I'm sure I mentioned this later in my article, but that hit, I think it was on Jacob Sailors. He was working his way off the left side of the defense. He shed number 8, and I fail to remember who's number 8 in camp right now. Number 8 failed at blocking, big time. And so he shed number 8, lunged, and I'm pretty sure it was Sailors. I mean, it was a nice pop. He didn't look like he hit him too hard, but it was a pop, man. And then the defense went wild. It was a great TFL. It was a great tackle. Exactly what you're looking for, not just out of a young rookie, exactly what you're looking for out of your vets to perform that way as well. Isian, obviously he's given the Lions multiple answers on defense. It's great to see him back. Isian worked with the starting defensive rotation at nickel. He moved to safety when the second team took the field and contributed also on special teams. Few players competing for reserve roles can cover that many responsibilities. And so his return really affected McCreary, Abney, and Amaris Brown in the entire secondary rotation. Obviously, the Lions want to give him as much opportunity as possible. Let's roll through the injury updates. There's quite a few. Honestly, it's probably the longest section of my article yesterday, so I apologize. But before we get to all the injury updates, which we kind of just heard some from Dan Campbell, but I got the full story. Let me get into the chat real quick and see what you guys are talking about. Do we have anything in caps for me to touch on? I see Hassaneen's name getting mentioned. Yeah, Hassaneen has been on an absolute tear. For the gentleman that called yesterday, by the way, I got some information on Anthony Lucas today. Maybe you'd be excited about that. Fourth and 60 says those coaching lists are getting bogus. They're very biased to play calling head coaches now. I didn't see the list. I think I slept while everything came out yesterday. Oh, looks like Hassanin Mahdi's in the chat. Good morning, man. How you doing? Your son is playing exceptionally well. Super excited about him this year. Rather be fishing. Fred says my wife is an ophthalmologist, tech, for 15 years. I need a good one, Fred. If you want to mailbag me, I need a good one. Looks like we got someone trying to call in right now. We're not taking calls at this moment. When you see the call button flashing, we take calls. Oh, happy birthday, Hassanin Mahdi. Good morning. Happy birthday. Mine was just the other day, man. Mine was just the other day on the 29th of July. So, happy Merry blessings on your birthday. All right, we'll keep rolling. I don't see anything really in caps for me to touch on. All right, so the injury watch right now becomes a major camp story, as it is every year. But I have to remind you that every team in the league right now, I went through the full list yesterday, is suffering very similar things and quite honestly, worse things than what the Lions are seeing. The rehabilitation progress for Branch and Joseph is continuing. Brian Branch completed his first outdoor rehab session of training camp yesterday while recovering from the Achilles injury. He worked for approximately 15 to 20 minutes. He moved at a good pace, performed change of direction movements with the trainer. Dan Campbell previously identified, late training camp or early September as a possible window for Branch to resume practice, and it looks like he's on pace for that. Obviously, they haven't announced any sort of a return date, and his week one availability still remains uncertain, but this was a good showing. Kirby Joseph, obviously still on PUP while he's still rehabbing whatever he's got going on with his knee. That ended the 2025 season. Monday's workout was a little bit longer than Branch's, included some demanding conditioning work away from the main practice. Increased workload represents continued progress, but Detroit has not established a timetable for his return to team drills. Derek Moore is expected to miss approximately 7 to 10 days, as Campbell noted yesterday, with a minor groin strain. Rookie edge defender left Sunday's practice, did not participate Monday. And the injury is not currently expected to become a long-term absence from the team. Jimmy Rolder, his injury became a little bit more concerning as he's obviously unavailable, has that lower body injury, which has now been identified, in the reports as either what they said leg or hamstring. It was hamstring, right? Detroit has not announced a firm timetable. His absence has, really helped create the need for White's addition to the linebacker room. But as we learned, as White said, this started before free agency. So Devin White was always in the plan. Whether Jimmy Rolder got injured or not, maybe that moved up the clock for Brad Holmes or not, I don't know. But I'm glad that he's here. As far as what Jimmy Rolder's potentially looking at, yesterday I mentioned, is it grade 1, 2, or 3? If it was grade 3, probably out for the season or at least 12 to 16 weeks. If it was in surgery, most likely. If it was grade 2, you're probably looking at least 6 weeks for Jimmy Rolder. So I'm probably expecting the Lions to use one of their IR designations on Jimmy Rolder if it goes that length of time throughout camp before cuts. If it goes that length of time and we don't see him back on the field, that IR designation to return would mean that he could potentially be back, week 4-ish, probably at the latest. So we'll keep our eyes on Jimmy Rolder's rehab progress over the coming weeks. I already mentioned the Sione Vaki thing, and as Rather Be Fishing Fred just mentioned, a simple poke in the eye could ruin someone's vision. So it's not a little deal here, but he also broke his nose, and he, the poke in the eye, ruined his day yesterday, and he left practice. Another big injury yesterday was Anthony Fursker suffered a leg injury, which has now been reported as a fracture. So even though he walked off without assistance, it's a fracture. So I would assume that this is going to be at least 4, 6, 10, 12 weeks, probably more 6 to 12. Most likely won't be on the roster. Lawrence Keys, he also left practice yesterday with a reported leg injury. I missed if there was an update this morning. I didn't hear it. But the injury itself, it was not observed by the reporting source, and Detroit proved no additional information regarding its severity last night. And again, I missed it this morning if they talked about it. Miles Kitselman is expected to miss extended time. The Lions' 5th, 6th tight end left yesterday to be evaluated for a concussion, and then also listed with a leg injury. And as of yesterday, the team didn't clarify. I didn't hear any more of it this morning, but I will follow up on it later. Blake Miller returned to full practice and participation yesterday after they limited him to individual drills on Sunday as just a precaution. And so for all those who were worried about Blake Miller yesterday, especially in yesterday's call, he was just fine. He handled first-team right tackle work throughout the padded practice portion. Tyler Conklin still remains on PUP with what is called a calf injury, but continues working extensively with training staff. His current workload suggests progress, but he's not back. We'll have to wait and see, where he fits in now. He's definitely needed at this point with all the injuries to the tight end room. Like, we're banking that Conklin's going to be able to play this season and play to a high level. Ben Barch missed his second consecutive full practice with an undisclosed issue. He continued working separately while Mahogany and Scruggs divided the primary left guard opportunities. Peyton Turner missed his 4th consecutive practice because of a stiff back issue. Campbell initially described the problem as minor, but Turner has not yet returned to the field. He's not even doing any workouts with trainers. I assume he's probably in getting treatment. Not sure what's going on there yet. And then obviously you already know about Giovanni Manu. He still remains on NFI, and that's not going to change. Jahmyr Gibbs, no injury to really report other than what was called a stiff back by Dan Campbell a few days ago. He's not on an injury report. He's just holding in. And we expect that to end probably within the next 24 to 36 hours. I would expect Gibbs to be on the field. He's still attending meetings. Obviously, he's still hanging out with his guys and still part of this team. Once he gets back to practice, no harm, no foul. Next up, we're going to talk about the defense, who probably had the biggest part of the day yesterday. I mean, the offense and the defense both traded blows, but the defensive line really walked away with an incredible day. Incredible day of work. First day in pads was exactly what we were hoping for. We're going to take a minor break, and when we get back, it's defensive line talk.
Throwing middle, caught inside the 5. Jahmyr Gibbs to the end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. 14 yards on the strike. Goff to Gibbs. You can't cover that man one-on-one. You just can't do it.
Nice job.
Jared takes the snap, back looking, throwing middle. Got Amon-Ra inside the 2, to the 1, to the end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. Amon-Ra, St. Brown. Amon-Ra, St. Brown.
Nice job.
Mariota's got it back. Pressure comes. He's hit. Slips out of it. Rolling to his right. Now he's going down. Brian Branch got him. Sack for the Lions. Snap taken by Mariota. Wants to throw it. Gonna get hit. Gonna get sacked.
Yes,
Take it down. Brian Branch got him second time today.
Nice job.
Hands it to Gibbs, running right, runs through a tackle, gets down to the 10, Gibbs to the 5, still fighting, down to the 2, down to the 1, to the end zone! Yes. Touchdown, Detroit Lions! He did not quit!
Nice job.
Off to throw again. Does. Middle. J-Mo angling to the end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. J-Mo flips into the end zone for 6.
Nice job. You talking about gut punch up the middle, then talking about tossing it on the edge, and once you get him out on the edge, Sonic is gone.
Sonic is gone.
Inside the 20, inside the 10, inside the 5. Touchdown, Detroit Lions, 44 yards. Jahmyr Gibbs putting together a day.
Hat trick. Nice job.
Pressured by Hutchinson, he goes down again.
All right, getting back into day 5 training camp news here on Rise Grind Morning Show. My name is Will Rock. I'm the host here for Rock Down Detroit Lions and the owner and founder of DFJ Sports, Detroit Football Journal. Give us a shot today. Subscribe and turn on those notifications. I promise you don't get a bunch of spam. Only good news about your Detroit Lions. Well, all the news about your Detroit Lions each and every day. I do a lot of work in the posts. I've been putting a lot of things out in the posts. And that's a good place to get some information throughout the day. There's going to be some new updates starting to hit. As soon as I get time to schedule everything, I'll get everything scheduled out and be ready to rock and roll. I do want to recap real quick on injuries. According to ESPN, let me get it pulled in here. Okay, according to ESPN yesterday, so we've already talked about Derek Moore, 7 to 10 days. Izian's back. Vaki, we don't know yet. Ferksker, he's got the leg injury. I was looking for Kitzelman. Here we go. Supposed to be out a while, so that's probably going to be several weeks. And we don't know what's going on with Keys yet. Jimmy Rolder, we know. Giovanni Manu's out, still on NFI. He'll be out for... I think he's probably done unless he gets an injury settlement and comes back. So really not much more. Not much more to talk about there. No news is good news, but I was hoping to see if they had more information on Kitzelman, but losing 2 tight ends is not great with Conklin down. In response to that, the Lions did bring in the former Viking tight end Nick Muse, and I haven't had a chance to really dig in to Nick Muse, and maybe when we get to the tight end area of today's show, I'll try to pull a few things up. I don't think he's played a whole lot. I don't think there's a lot really to talk about. Honestly, it's just a camp body. Lions are gonna have to figure something out. Maybe Brad Holmes is working on a trade. Maybe he's waiting for cuts. But someone's going to have to become available. You can't run 12 and 13 personnel without having adequate tight ends on your roster. All right, defensive line. Great showing. We're going to start with Tyleik Williams. Now, he produced yesterday, one of the strongest interior rushes of the day. Williams gained leverage against Cade Mays, drove the center backward with a bull rush. Mays recovered later in the period by anchoring against Chris Smith, but Williams' repetition displayed the lower body power, hand placement required to collapse the middle of the pocket. Something that Tyleik was doing last year, right? He was doing it last year, and I think that this year is going to be a breakout year for Tyleik Williams. He's continued to show improved movement, even after reshaping his body during the offseason. I think yesterday added just another element to his evaluation process, the ability to convert leverage into direct interior pressure against our starting center. That's huge, right? It's just one play, though. Tyler Lacey has continued building a larger role. Lacey produced the most complete defensive performance yesterday, during the first padded practice. His performance showed that more than isolated pass rush ability. At 300 pounds, Lacey has been able to align as a strong side defensive end. He's been able to move inside against the guards and create pressure from multiple positions. That flexibility is given Detroit or given Kelvin Shepard another option when constructing the heavier fronts designed to stop the run without surrendering the interior penetration. And I let me pause there because a lot of Lions fans want to see sacks. A lot of Lions fans want to see more pressure, more natural pressure. And I think that's exactly what Brad Holmes has been trying to build since 2021. Unfortunately, injuries curbed that. Now you're starting to see players like Lacey, like Ahmed Hassanin, even Skylar Howard, who struggled a little bit, but he's young, he's working. Levi Onwuzurike, Aleem McNeil. We have a really good core of interior defensive linemen that also have flexibility of going outside. Mekhi Wingo and others. And so right now you're seeing an opportunity for this defense to be radically different with interior pressure. And when you are able to gain the interior pressure, that is the quickest way to get to the quarterback. It creates the most disruption. For those of you that think it's the edge that creates the most disruption, that is false. It's valuable, yes. But the interior disruption is the most important part of a defensive play. When your interior guys are able to get that quarterback to move, that is when the edge becomes more valuable. That is when the edge position is able to get more sacks or create more TFLs, disruptive, negative plays. So having a guy like Lacey that's inside out and has the versatility and speed, and he's a massive dude, to be able to do this at his weight, I'm really excited about Lacey. Now, working from the edge during an early team period, Lacey penetrated the backfield yesterday, making Jared Goff roll out on a play action and forced Jared to abandon the play. He then moved inside, defeated a block, disrupted a running play before it could even reach the line of scrimmage. TFL. There we go. Right? Lacey also carried that production into the one-on-one pass rush period. He used his length to drive the rookie tackle Blake Miller backward. He then defeated Juice Scruggs with a quick push-pull move that sent him directly into the backfield. He's had a strong opening week. He's no longer, just one practice, of effort and plays or just one memorable play. He has been consistent in consistently reaching the backfield and really beginning to force his way into that defensive starting rotation. Where did Lacey come from? August 27, 2025. It was important for me to note this because it speaks volumes again to Brad Holmes. The Jaguars cut Lacey on the Tuesday afternoon deadline for the final preseason roster reductions. And because he was a former fourth-round pick in 2023 and had already appeared in 28 games over his first two seasons, that release was considered a bit of a surprise or a head-scratcher by team analysts and other analysts throughout the league. Because he was subject to waivers, the Lions were able to claim him the very next day before he could clear and potentially join Jacksonville's practice squad. And now look, a full offseason in the Detroit Lions facility, a full offseason in the Lions training camp, OTAs, mini camp, you name it. He is now developing into what could be one of the surprise players of 2026. All eyes on Tyler Lacey right now. All eyes on, he's playing extremely well. So now you have this triple threat, right? When the Lions go big, and you got Lacey, Williams, and Aleem McNeil out there, all three, and then pick your edge. That is going to be, if we go five, right? If you go five wide, you go big five. And you put Levi Onwuzurike out there. You got five massive dudes that can all move and create problems. That is a scary defensive line. They may not all be household names right now, but by the end of 2026, when these guys stay healthy, I guarantee you they will be. Aleem McNeil. Now, it was a kind of quiet day for Aleem. Obviously completed the first day of pads without any limitations from the previous neck injury. During one-on-ones, Christian Mahogany controlled both of their matchups throughout the day. McNeil was not credited with any sort of pressures or run stops or other major team period plays. But Monday, again, was relatively quiet for him. It doesn't mean he had a bad day. But all the other players around him had great days. And that's exactly what you're looking for. When you have one player that is having a bad day, that is where you need Tyleik Williams, Tyler Lacey, and others to start stepping up. That is how you win football games. That is why the depth is so important. If Aleem McNeil's struggling on any given day and the others step up, great. If Tyleik Williams is struggling and Aleem McNeil steps up, great. That's what you're looking for. You want these guys to play off each other. And I expect Kelvin Shepherd to not pull any punches. Yeah, you're paying Aleem McNeil a lot of money. You want him out there as often as you can. But if he's struggling on a day and someone else is playing better, this is where I want to see the growth of this team this year. They've said that they're going to play the guys that play well, right? They said that they're going to play guys no matter where they were selected, no matter how much they're getting paid. They're going to play the guys that are winning. I don't know that we've ever really, I don't know that we've noticed that as much as we'd have liked to. For those that complained about, David Montgomery playing well and then not getting as many snaps on any given day when he was clearly the better running back on some days. That's not doing what they said that they were going to do. But obviously you can't pull a guy like Jahmyr Gibbs off the field who's a home run threat anytime he touches the ball. So I understand that side of it too. But defensively, if your defensive line is struggling anywhere, that can really cause a chink in the armor, and the offense will figure it out, and they will use it against you. But in this case, I'm hoping that Kelvin Shepherd and Dan Campbell and the rest of this defensive staff will play the guys that are primarily having good days. If Aleem McNeil goes from 60% snaps to 45% snaps in a game, but you win the game, and Tyler Lacey and Tyleik Williams had an incredible game, there's nothing wrong with that. And Aleem McNeil should be happy about that. That if he's having a bad day, put the other guy in. I want to see that growth this year. I don't want to see the Lions get stagnant and stuck with just putting the guys out there that they hope will play well, but they're not playing well. You got to shift them out, man. Have to. Other teams will do it. Why not you? Right? Defensive line depth is starting to take some shape too. Skylar Gill-Howard and Kenyana have begun receiving second-team opportunities yesterday. But Monday produced a lot of mixed results for both of the younger interior defenders. Gill-Howard struggled during one-on-ones. He lost reps to Scruggs. He lost reps to Melvin Priestley and Mason Miller. Tyree West also lost to Priestley before recovering with a successful rep against Mason Miller. Mason Miller kind of got beat up yesterday. Kenyana has performed well against the run, adding to his recent movement towards second-team opportunities. And then he later encountered more resistance during pass rush work when Seth McLaughlin, there you go, to the caller yesterday, successfully anchored against him. But that's all I got on Seth McLaughlin. Levi Onwuzurike appears to be receiving a growth percentage, at least, of his work with the third-team defense. Now, I don't think that's an indictment early on Levi. I think it's a growth thing. Tate Ratledge defeated him in one-on-ones, increasing the importance of the remaining padded practices for Onwuzurike's position in the interior rotation. I don't think that the Lions go into this season without Levi. Mekhi Wingo also lost his matchup against Ratledge and later fell to Frazier after Frazier moved from tackle to guard. No matter where you put Frazier right now, he's standing on business. And Ratledge, even though it's been a quiet camp so far with Ratledge's name not being thrown out there, that's a good thing. Right? It's a good thing that he's not being called out for doing bad things. He's growing. It's his second year, and so far, he's just been like a concrete pole out there. You can't move the guy. Let's get into the edge position. Aiden Hutchinson versus Penei Sewell. And I don't have the video. I don't know where the hell it is. I don't know if it was even put out. But this was a premier matchup of the day. Obviously, it is in every camp. But during one-on-ones, it was reported that matchup ended evenly split. Aiden Hutchinson defeated Penei Sewell on their first rep by attacking inside and then using his quickness to cross Penei's face. But then Sewell responded immediately. He stayed square on the second snap, matched Hutchinson's change of direction without surrendering any sort of a pressure against Jared Goff. Neither player really controlled the entire exchange. Hutchinson showed the explosiveness and the counter ability that makes him one of the Lions' most dangerous, makes him really one of the NFL's most dangerous defenders. While Sewell demonstrated good balance and recovery skills expected from an elite right tackle now playing left tackle, right? And let me pause there because I forget the caller's name yesterday, but he was saying, well, why do we have Penei Sewell out there? This is exactly why. Why do we have Aiden Hutchinson out there? This is exactly why. If Penei can't go out there and win every single rep walking away, then he needs to be out there. He's played football a long time. He's been in the league 6 years. But that doesn't mean that they don't have to practice. That doesn't mean that they don't have things to work on. So what we see yesterday from Ali McNeil or from Penei Sewell is he's still adjusting. And he's going to continue to adjust throughout camp. Hutchinson appeared during the Lions' run-heavy team period as well, where the defense spent the opening portion of the practice fitting the runs, or fitting consecutive rushing plays, I should say. Mahogany later got the better of Aiden. Can you believe that? Mahogany, on a pulling assignment, showed how difficult padded practices will be even for the established stars that Aiden Hutchinson is. Edge depth yesterday is really starting to be competitive. DJ Wanham, he's continued to show the ability to set a firm edge against the run. He created problems for Mason Miller with an outside rush, using a combination of length and technique. Wanham is really starting to play extremely well, but he's keeping himself in that position behind Aiden Hutchinson locked up. And I think that's also a development that maybe I missed on earlier in the offseason. I expected Wanham to be more on the other side. But the minute that they changed Ahmed Hassanin's position to be the big end, I mean, we'll still see a NASCAR package where we'll see, Aiden and Wanham out there together. But without Peyton Turner in, Hassanin's been the guy over there. And even Tyler Lacey, will be out there as well. Right now, he's kind of leading the way. I think that this edge group is a lot deeper than people are giving it credit to be. And I think that the defensive line group is a lot deeper than what people are giving it credit to be. We went through, 23, 24, 25's roster analysis, top 53 players that were kept after each year. And right now there's an argument between, are they going to keep 4? Are they going to keep 5? Or can they go to 6 in the edge room? And the same can be said for the defensive line. Are they going to keep 4, 5, or 6? I think somewhere between 10 and 12 is the answer this year. I don't think that they can let some of these players walk. 1, due to injury, and 2, due to the hockey line shift nature I see this defense switching to, that you're going to need as many players as possible. Big shout out to Stephen Clement with a GOAT gift. Is that what that is? A number 1 GOAT gift? Appreciate that, buddy. Thank you. So Ahmed Hassanin, yesterday, he produced one of the best pass rush moves of the practice. And when I was out there on Sunday, he was all over the place. He used a double swipe and swim combo to clear Colby Sorsdal's outside shoulder. I know what you guys are going to say. It's just Colby Sorsdal. I get it. But Ahmed has been producing against everybody. He then carried that same intensity and style into special teams work. That's right. Hassanein's been playing on special teams. He's been a camp darling so far. He's been explosive off the edge, a ball of energy every practice. That's just the way he is. But his physique appears to be in top shape. If you've seen pictures of Ahmed, he just looks massive. His arms and his upper body are absolutely massive. I can tell you from watching him on the field and getting as close as I could to him on Sunday. He spent this offseason getting ready for that big end role. And I am expecting big things from Hassanein this season. He's way bigger than Aiden, size-wise. Aiden may be more cut up, but when you look at Ahmed, I mean, he's like a freaking redwood out there. He is so wide. He doesn't have the longest arms in the world. I think he's like 32 and a quarter or whatever it is. But, I mean, his arms are like, I mean, they're freaking massive. It's like he's got giant anacondas on his shoulders. He's massive. And that's exactly what you're looking for out of a big end, to have that big, broad, stiff upper body, to use that power against those bigger tackles. Yes, you need a very stiff lower body, an anchor, to be able to control the tackles when you're setting an edge. But without a stiff upper body and being able to fight these tackles off from the waist up, not a lot of guys are going to be successful. Ahmed has both. I mean, he's just as thick in the bottom as he is up top. So I'm really excited. And he's quick. He's got fleet of foot. Now, his footwork still needs some work. I got to see a few reps where, I could say that maybe his footwork was a little out of sync with his upper body, but he still produced. But he also produced early in camp when guys are also kind of getting their feet underneath them, if you will. Anyway, big things, I think, on the horizon for Hassanein this year. Oh, guess what? We got news about Anthony Lucas, caller. He also recorded some successful rushes during the one-on-one period yesterday. He held his ground against Frazier, of all players. That's all I got. Derek Moore obviously was sidelined and with a groin strain, and both Hassanein and Lucas are getting very, very valuable opportunities right now to establish themselves in the edge rotation. And then Peyton Turner missed his 4th consecutive practice because of the back issue, and we'll just see where that goes. Dan Campbell indicated that the injury was not serious. Why it's taking so long, I don't know, but I think out of an abundance of caution in giving the other guys a lot of reps, it just makes a lot of sense right now to continue on the path that they are, because everybody is really playing well. This has probably been the cleanest training camp from a execution standpoint that we've had in quite a while. I think Dan Campbell hit it right on the nose, man. They needed to get back to that hunger of 22-23, and that really paid dividends, obviously, in 2023. 2023 also had 4 elite rookies on the field, but the way that these guys are playing right now, it's like they're all in sync, man. I mean, there's a lot of mistakes too, but it's like they're all in sync. Let's talk about the linebackers right when we get back.
Every day, thousands of people are discovering Uper Lights, Michigan's newest, funnest rock to go find on the shores of the Great Lakes. Don't go out with just any light. Try the Convoy C8 from UperLights.com. It's guaranteed for life, and you'll find all the ones everyone else misses. Quality UV lights that are perfect for Uper Lights, with prices starting as low as $20. Please make sure to visit UperLights.com for all your UV flashlight needs, with the best guarantees on the market. Just what you wanted and not what you didn't. The best quality, the best guarantees, and the best UV flashlights from UperLights.com.
The season is here, and you want the latest news and rumors on your Detroit Lions. Head to SportsSpider.com, that's sports, SPYDER.com, where you can get your Lions news and all your sports in one place. Man, this site is packed with your favorite podcasts, live news, articles from local writers, and insiders, all updating in real time. Not just the Lions, every major sports team, including MMA, UFC, and so much more. Don't want to waste time searching? Sign up for free. Create your ultimate sports news hub. You control what hits your feed at SportsSpider, your number one source for all your sports. Visit SportsSpider.com today, right after the show.
Throwing middle, caught inside the 5. Jahmyr Gibbs to the end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. 14 yards on the strike. Goff to Gibbs. You can't cover that man one-on-one. You just can't do it.
Nice job.
Jared takes the snap, back looking, throwing middle. Got Amon-Ra inside the 2, to the 1, to the end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. Amon-Ra, St. Brown. Amon-Ra.
All right, let's not forget about our good friends over at CJM Auto Detailing. If you guys are in the greater Grand Rapids area, and they will travel about 30, 45 minutes outside of Grand Rapids, CJM Auto Detailing right now, located in Byron Center, Michigan, has a deal for you if you use code DFJ Sports at checkout. Get $25 off your package. They come to you, whether you're at work, at home, they come to you and get your vehicle done. I had them out at my home just last week to do Megan's vehicle. They did a wonderful job. Here's Caden. He's a 19-year-old entrepreneur. He's also a hockey player, plays hockey in Alaska, where he'll be this winter. But he's the founder, man. He's a phenomenal kid. I hate calling him a kid because he's an adult, and he's now a small business owner. So support your local guys, support Caden, and support CJM Autodetailing.com today. DFJ Sports at checkout. Get $25 off. All right, so yesterday's linebacker rotation included Devin White. He entered the first team rotation yesterday. Obviously, he was recently signed by the Detroit Lions, where Devin White mentioned that he was contacted early in the process during free agency. For whatever reason, it didn't happen right away, and Jimmy Rolder goes down, and Devin White's in the building the very next day. Recently signed Devin White to what is reported about a 1-year, $3 million deal. I'm not 100% confident on the numbers, but maybe close. He received early opportunities with the first team offense yesterday, and Calvin Shepard had a 3-linebacker alignment with White playing the off-ball linebacker on the weak side at the will, Jack Campbell in the middle, Derek Barnes aligned as the strong side at the Sam position. Barnes is playing near the line of scrimmage for most of the practice periods that I've either witnessed or have seen video or read reports so far. But White's immediate first-team exposure indicates that the Lions intend to utilize him and evaluate him as a legitimate first-team operator in this room. Malcolm Rodriguez, however, continues to receive the overwhelming majority of the starting work, but it's early for Devin White. And as Dan Campbell mentioned today, they want to get White's weight down a little bit. Malcolm, again, he's performed consistently throughout the first 5 practices. He's been all over the place. But White has the experience and that athletic ability, 174 combined tackles last year, to pressure the competition and the quarterback. Rodriguez currently owns the stronger position because of his command of the defense, continuity with the unit, and the steady start to camp. But I don't expect that to last much longer. I think Devin White is going to put a stranglehold on that will position. And then we need to watch out for Damone Clark as well. Damone Clark is making some plays. And I think that the Lions have gone from a very weak linebacker room outside of Jack Campbell and Derek Barnes in the nickel package to what could be one of the strongest linebacker rooms in the base package. I'm really excited to see how the linebacker room continues to grow. And I really hope that Jimmy Rolder gets back sooner rather than later, because I think his special teams utilization will be key for his rookie development. But I also think that he's going to play pretty well on special teams, just based on some grumblings that I've heard so far. Let's push it over to the secondary yesterday. Keith Abney produced... Uh-oh. Just lost it. Poop. My bad. Oh, come on. Whoops. I hate this thing some days. But I think it makes such a big difference just being able to talk to you guys and not at a screen, you know? Here, let me do this. Let me fix it. I'll be right back.
Throwing middle, caught inside the 5. Jahmyr Gibbs to the end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. 14 yards on the strike. Goff to Gibbs. You can't cover that man one-on-one. You just can't do it.
Nice job.
Jared takes the snap back, looking, throwing middle. Got Amon-Ra inside the 2, to the 1, to the end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. Amon-Ra, St. Brown. Amon-Ra, St. Brown.
Nice job.
Mariota's got it back. Pressure comes. He's hit. Slips out of it. Rolling to his right. Now he's going down. Brian Branch got him. Sack for the Lions. Snap taken by Mariota. Wants to throw it. Gonna get hit. Gonna get sacked.
Yes,
Take it down. Brian Branch got him second time today.
Nice job.
All right, I think we're back in order now. So Keith Abney, talking about the secondary. Keith Abney yesterday keeps producing impact plays. He delivered another aggressive performance from the nickel position. Look, this rookie has identified himself early as a playmaker. On a running play, he attacked through the formation. He laid a crushing pop on what appeared to be Jacob Sailors. He arrived with force. He finished the play cleanly, and then he drew an immediate response from the defensive sideline. Abney's physical presence so far, his physicality, was one of the traits that Brad Holmes emphasized after selecting him in the 5th round. Through 5 practices, that description has carried on to the field. And so far, Keith Abney is really grabbing the attention of the Lions coaches. His depth chart position changed after Christian Izien returned, pushing Abney toward the 3rd group. His production did not decline with any reduced placement, but he continues to create negative plays and remains part of the leading group competing for the gunner responsibilities on special teams. Izien does reshape this secondary. Just his presence alone, coming back from the illness, it changed the rotation across multiple personnel groups, base, nickel, whatever. He's involved in all of it. He opened up the first team defense at nickel. He's working between DJ Reed and combinations involving Rockison and Ennis Rakestraw. When the second unit entered, Izien moved to the safety position alongside Thomas Harper. That versatility pushed Roger McCreary toward the second team, and then McCreary also played on the outside yesterday, which is a development that I didn't expect, but they're utilizing him everywhere when the Lions used 2 cornerbacks. Then they moved inside when the defense shifted into the nickel position. Detroit is testing several defensive backs at multiple positions, but Izien's ability to play nickel and safety gives him the broadest immediate opportunity and role. DJ Reed, he won a rare rep against Amon-Ra St. Brown. Reed has stayed attached to St. Brown's hip pretty much throughout camp, and on a quick in-breaking route, he broke up the pass at the catch point. St. Brown usually secures throws in traffic, making any clean breakup against him notable, and that was the case yesterday. Reed maintained good leverage throughout the route and prevented St. Brown from completing the catch without grabbing or losing position. Reed has looked comfortable as Detroit's top outside corner throughout camp. Monday's reps and his repetition really reinforced his ability to compete against one of the league's most precise and physical receivers. Chuck Clark produced multiple strong fits yesterday against the run and consistently arrived at the point of attack under control. He also exchanged words with Amon-Ra St. Brown, chirping it up along the sideline and on the field following a very physical rep, adding to a very competitive edge of this practice yesterday. Tempers were heightened. When I was there Sunday, there was I think 2 skirmishes. I don't know if there was any skirmish yesterday. Next, we'll kick it over to the offense, and we're going to start with the quarterbacks. Kind of a light day for quarterback information. Again, I was working on this very, very late last night, so I could have missed some things. But Jared Goff's day 5 work really came during a practice built heavily around the running game and the trench evaluation. But he also finished his session with Detroit's cleanest offensive sequence. After Tyler Lacey displaced him early and disrupted an early play-action bootleg, forcing Goff to discard the ball, Goff responded, completing 4 consecutive passes in a row during the final first-team period. He connected twice with Amon-Ra St. Brown, once with Jameson Williams, and once with Isaac Tesla. He's been distributing the ball across the Lions' 3 primary receivers, and he's capped the stretch yesterday with a touchdown completion to St. Brown in very, very tight coverage. Teddy Bridgewater faced consistent pressure when he was in. Hassanin nearly reached him for a sack. Mekhi Wingo and Levi Onwuzurike combined to stop another team period passing play behind the line. His best work of the day came on 2 completions that produced major gains. He delivered an accurate sideline throw to Lucky Jackson, while Ahmed Hassanin was closing down on him. And then he connected with Jacob Sailors on a short pass that Sailors turned into a touchdown of approximately 40, 45, 50 yards. As you keep hearing, Hassanin. The dude is everywhere. Absolutely everywhere on the field. Running backs, Jacob Sailors, he produced 2 of Detroit's longest offensive plays. I mean, he was the primary back on the field at one point. After Sione Vaki left, practice with the eye injury, as I mentioned earlier, and Jahmyr Gibbs obviously still unavailable. But Sailors moved right in behind Isaiah Pacheco in the running back rotation, and he produced. He burst through a right side rushing lane for a gain of more than 20. He then finished practice by slipping uncovered on a misdirection wheel route and turned that catch into a TD of more than 40 yards. Sailors has looked leaner, quicker so far through camp. Monday's performance, though, demonstrated that he can create explosive plays as both a runner and receiver. His roster path remains a bit crowded, but I do expect the Lions to keep 4. Gibbs' continued absence and Vaki's injury now will provide a lot more additional reps, first and second team opportunities. Pacheco also delivered a quality run using a sharp jump cut to redirect through an interior crease before accelerating into the second level. Kind of a light day on information from Pacheco for me. Jabari Small was the only offensive player credited with 2 wins during the opening space drill, I guess is what you call it. He created 1 victory with a cutback and another by beating the defender toward the edge. Again, I have to reiterate that Gibbs is still present at practice. He's just holding in. He's not present on the field. Next up, we're going to move into the offensive line. Christian Mahogany. Kind of mentioned this earlier in the top headlines, but Mahogany has really delivered some strong days. Strongest offensive line performance out of the day for him in day 5. Again, he defeated Ali McNeil on both of their one-on-one pass pro reps. He absorbed McNeil's power and controlled the matchup with his hands and his base. During the running period, Mahogany pulled across the formation and displaced Hutchinson to help create a lane for the ball carrier. I don't know who had the ball at that point. It might have been Pacheco. It could have been Vaki. I don't remember. Mahogany's power has been evident since he returned, after his NFI injury list. And Drew Petzing's running game is expected to ask the Lions guards to pull, climb, and locate defenders in space, getting up to that second level. Mahogany's ability to execute those assignments has strengthened his fit within the new blocking system. Scruggs also continued to share first-team work at left guard, but Mahogany appears to be gaining separation as his conditioning improves. Ben Barch, again, limited to individual rehab work yesterday because of his undisclosed issue and has not been able to re-enter the competition. Tate Ratledge. Ratledge won both of his past pro reps, defeating Wingo and Onwuzurike without surrendering meaningful pressure. I think it's a big development for Ratledge. He's really playing well. His performance continued to progress, as he showed during the second half of last season. Ratledge looked balanced, he looked patient, he looked comfortable, and handling any amount of power from the interior just seemed easy. Detroit entered camp with questions across the offensive line following all of the personnel changes, injuries, and the formation shakeup. Penei Sewell now on the left. Ratledge has provided stability at the right guard position, has not given the coaching staff any reason to reconsider the draft pick or his place within the starting group. And then there was Cade Mays. He responded well yesterday after getting beat early, but he experienced one of the widest swings of the one-on-one period. Tyleik Williams overwhelmed him with that bull rush that went viral for Detroit Lions media on the first rep, driving Mays all the way back towards the quarterback, which was at that time Dan Skipper, and possibly all the way out to Rotunda had they not stopped. My quick analysis is this. Mays stood up. He allowed Tyleik to get under his chest, and once an offensive lineman loses leverage against a player of Williams' caliber, they will almost always lose that rep. In this case, Mays did. Mays also showed useful movement in the run game, pulling into space and sealing a lane for the running back. His ability to recover after losing badly on the first rep was a very positive response, a response that you're expecting out of a vet, and especially during the padded portion of practice. One loss on one-on-ones is not an indictment on Cade Mays as a center. He has played his last 20 games at center, allowing 0 sacks and only 14 pressures. Relax. Mays did correct his base and his pad level, staying competitive the rest of the day. Blake Miller, he returned to full participation after being limited to individual work on Sunday. It's just a precaution, but he handled the visible first-team reps at right tackle and produced mixed results. Miller controlled Lacey on one snap, but later struggled when Lacey used his long arm to create separation and shed inside. Wanham also defeated Miller with an outside rush and forceful finish. Those losses exposed areas that Miller has to improve, particularly his anchor against power and his ability to reset his hands after an experienced rusher gains an initial leverage. Borum still remains involved in the competition and produced a strong one-on-one period. He neutralized Wanham and Hassanin. Miles Frazier continues to build one of the strongest camps among Detroit's reserve players. He began camp in the left guard competition, but has expanded his role and responsibilities to second-team right tackle, both guard positions and occasional work at left tackle. His movement skills, his endurance, and his positional flexibility have allowed Detroit to use him across all three units. Frazier held his ground against Lucas. Well, I guess we had one other thing against Lucas, or on Lucas. He defeated Eric O'Neill at tackle and then later moved inside to beat Wingo at right guard. A reserve lineman who can cover 4 positions provides significant game day value. Frazier is positioning himself as Detroit's most versatile backup and one of Detroit's strongest candidates for an active roster role. The rest of the reserve offensive linemen yesterday. Priestley continued to adapt well to guard after playing tackle at Grambling in Illinois. He controlled Gil Howard and Tyree West during the one-on-one period with very strong hands and a stable base. The center from Ohio State, McLaughlin, successfully anchored against Quiniana and the veteran Miles Adams. His work gave Detroit another encouraging option behind Mays at center. Scruggs also defeated Gil Howard, but lost decisively to Lacey. The mixed results reflect Scruggs' current standing. He remains capable of competing at left guard, but has not matched Mahogany's physical impact since the pads came on. It's just one day. We still have plenty more to go. Kobe Sorsdahl, this is not a surprise, struggled against Hassanin's outside move. Mason Miller won against Gil Howard, but later surrendered an edge to Tyree West. Before we get into the receivers, I want to make sure that I touch on something here, because I think it's important that you're seeing a mixture. You're seeing a mixture out of all of these guys and their ability. One, moving from position to position is not easy, especially while you're learning Drew Petzing's system, which asks a ton of you as an offensive lineman. Not only the blocking schemes, but the movement skills, being able to move. If you go back into DetroitFootball.com and go read the few articles that I put out about Drew Petzing way back when he was hired, there's a few things that I put in there that are resonating today. Matter of fact, why don't I just pull one up when we're done with this, and I'll stay on for a little bit longer. We still have a little bit to go, so I'll get through the rest of this, and then I'm going to pull up some of what I wrote on Drew Petzing. Now, let's see where it stacks up today. I'm almost positive I mentioned some things about the movement, marrying the pass and the rush, and the type of an offense that the Lions were going to be running with Drew Petzing. But you're seeing what I was going to say, though, about the offensive line is, Lacey has been like the top performer right now and really beating everybody up. But when you see guys like Frazier, handle them, that's great to see. It's great to hear because Lacey's been crushing everybody. And so when you have your backups that are able to win a rep, like, one, it feels good, right? It helps their development. And when they lose a rep, it's going to give them some tape to work on. Blake Miller is struggling as a rookie should, right? But it's not like, it's not like it's I guess it's not like anything that we didn't expect. So I don't want people to think that Blake Miller is not going to be a good right tackle. He's going to have his good days and his bad days. It just so happens he's going up against some of the best defensive linemen, in my opinion, in the league. Obviously, we have some of the best edge and some of the best interior in the league, but even the backups are really starting to show where they belong. And guys like Gil Howard and Tyree West, very young rookies. Gil Howard played an incredible defense and went up against some amazing athletes. He's going to take a little bit of time to develop. Now, he may be a couple of days behind the other guys, but give him some time, and I think that Gil Howard is going to prove himself. Without a doubt. It's just going to be a very, very tough roster to make and stick to. And the Lions are going to have to do something unique here because you don't want to cut a guy like Gil Howard. Someone will take him without a doubt. Receiver work yesterday. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, man, they brought their lunch pails to work yesterday. In yesterday's or the day before, was it yesterday? Or was it the day before? It was the day before when Williams talked to the media and the pads were coming on the next day. He said, "Watch me." And the reason why he said, "Watch me," is because they had a plan. They knew that this was coming. Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams faced off yesterday in a very physical portion of the work. St. Brown defeated Williams during a receiver blocking competition that required each player to reach and strike a tackling dummy. And then both receivers are obviously willing blockers. But St. Brown won the rep through leverage and positioning. Speed is sometimes not everything, right? St. Brown's lower center of gravity helped him win that rep. The matchup created one of the most competitive moments of the individual period. Williams remained involved in the first-team passing game and continued showing that his expanding role includes more than just the vertical routes. His development as an intermediate receiver and blocker remains one of the strongest offensive storylines throughout the first 5 practices. Williams has really shown his maturity and growth in year 5. His overall development has been fun to watch over the last 2 seasons. I believe that he will flourish in Drew Petzing's system. Without a doubt, he will flourish in this system. Isaac TeSlaa. TeSlaa caught a pass during Goff's Final 4 completion sequence and remained part of Detroit's primary receiver rotation. His special teams work was less than successful. TeSlaa could not clear the blocker on either of his gunner repetitions an area that he will need to improve while competing for a role beyond the offense, competing for snaps when he's not in the offensive rotation. Dominic Lovett won an early open field rep with a sharp cutback, but later became involved in a post-whistle contact with Dorsey and Damone Clark. A little skirmish. So there it is. Lawrence Keys defeated his defender with a hesitation move before leaving practice with an apparent leg injury. Tay Martin also won with some speed toward the sideline. Tight end work yesterday became more of a serious concern after losing additional depth. Miles Kitselman is expected to miss significant time, and the supplied reports at the time of me writing this article did not fully agree on the injury designation. One account said he was evaluated for concussion. Another listed that it was a leg issue. Detroit had not publicly, resolved that discrepancy within the reporting provided by 525 last night. Conklin still remains on PUP. He's not active because of a calf injury, and it's substantial right now that his rehab work is, working with the training staff. It has to get elevated. We need to see him out there. Obviously, we lost Fursker for a long period of time with what is a fractured leg, and it just wasn't a great day overall, right? The Lions had to sign Nick Muse to restore the practice depth and release Tariq Black to create a roster spot. Muse joins Jackson Meeks and Thomas Gordon behind Sam Laporta right now and Brock Wright in a competition for Detroit's third and fourth tight end roles. I'm not excited about that depth right now. You have Jackson Meeks, Brock Wright, and Sam Laporta. I think those are going to be your top three. We really need another guy, and we need another guy that's going to stand out. Don't know who that is. Miles Kitselman, I had early as an early winner, an early dark horse, based on what he did in OTAs, based on some of the things that I've read about him. I really expected him to compete, but now it may be gone for him. We'll see. We'll see how healthy he can be soon. And if he's not, well, I think that writing on the wall speaks for itself. Special teams yesterday. Dorsey. Remember how Dan Campbell mentioned Dorsey during the press conference? He popped yesterday as the gunner, man. He's really elevated his game in special teams. He delivered probably the most dominant performance of the gunner period and has consistently been clearing the blockers at the line of scrimmage and getting separation down the field. Nick Whiteside struggled to slow his release or establish any meaningful contact. The gunner remains Dorsey's strongest path to the roster. His acceleration, strength through contact, and ability to defeat blocks really gives the special teams unit an experienced coverage option. Izien really showed value on both sides. He stood out both as a gunner and as a blocker assigned to control the opposite gunner. He showed the tenacity to fight through contact when releasing downfield and strength to maintain position when he was blocking. Combining with his ability to play nickel and safety, Izien's special teams value really strengthens his already versatile roster role. And then there's Ahmed Hassanin again, bringing a pass rush intensity to special teams. Hassanin defeated Thomas Gordon during a special teams rep, and the two exchanged some words right after the play. That emotion drew some attention, but Hassanin's execution was stronger, the stronger development of the play. He carried the same urgency from the pass rush period into special teams and continues to demonstrate the effort required from a reserve edge defender. Detroit's leading gunner candidates currently include Dorsey, Rakestraw, Izien, Abney, and Rock Ya-Sin. I'm just going to throw the name out there. We haven't seen enough out of Abney in special teams just yet, but it's coming. I think that Abney is going to stand out, and I think that Rakestraw is going to stand out. Rakestraw's been struggling a little bit. He's been staying sticky, but you can clearly see that Rakestraw is in a developmental year. It may just flip like a switch for him, too. Like, he is so close on so many plays that, give him another week, give him another few practices. Rakestraw may begin to, start gaining on Rock Ya-Sin, but I just don't see Dan Campbell not rolling with Rock Ya-Sin. But I do see Calvin Shepard utilizing Rock Ya-Sin and Rakestraw against certain opportunities against the opponent. So I think it's going to be matchup oriented where these guys are going to be utilized. You know, if you need a guy that's a little bit quicker, Rocky Sin doesn't have the same speed that Rakestraw does. So if you need a guy that's a little bit quicker, you might see Rakestraw in some games versus Rocky Sin. And depending on what the opponent is doing with their wide receiver, matchup of the day, I think that you're going to see a universal package of rotation between the guys. And look, Rake is so close. He's getting there. If he would have just had the last couple of seasons to be able to play, his development, I mean, it could have exceeded where Terrion Arnold was going. You did hear Kelvin Shepard the other day say that Terrion Arnold had number one ability. It just wasn't coming out of him yet. And I think this last year has just been a big distraction for him, and it's unfortunate. Which, by the way, TA has his first primary hearing in 9 days. So if it is televised, we will be on for that. Not that it matters for Lions, news or media, but I'm interested. And I'll probably do it on the other channel. I won't do it on this channel. So anyway, Tesla, he still remains in the evaluation period for special teams. He needs to improve his releases after being controlled on both of his reps on Monday. And that is it for day 5. Some big developments. And so I asked the question, what is your biggest concern or takeaway so far through the Detroit Lions training camp? What it is, put it in caps in the chat right now. We could talk about it. You can also drop a comment in. You can also send me a voicemail at 313-PODCAST, 763-2278, 763-2278. Again, that's 313-763-2278. Drop a voicemail in, send a text, drop an email to mailbag@rockdown.com, and we would like to talk about what you're talking about right here on this show. And, of course, when we do take phone calls live, call in. Don't be afraid. We're just going to have a conversation. But do me a favor and make sure we don't have any background noise so that we can hear you. And just be patient so that I can kind of work back and forth with you and have a conversation that way that kind of goes back and forth. Otherwise, I'll just sit, give you 90 seconds, and then we'll talk about it off the air. We'll do it either way. So that's day 5. I'm going to take a quick break. And then when I come back, I did look up Nick Muse. There was really nothing of note to talk about. But let's get into some media session and break down what the coaches had to say yesterday. We'll be right back. Lions on the field in just 9 days, taking on the Bengals. Preseason. Week 1.
Touchdown, Detroit Lions.
How many of you guys are going to go to the Cincinnati Bengals game? Tickets are ultra cheap. If you're going to go, well, hell, I may just go with you. Let me know if you're going to go. I might attend. I mean, there was tickets for like $2.
Takes the snap back, looking, throwing middle. Got Amon-Ra inside the 2, to the 1, to the end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. Amon-Ra, St. Brown. Amon-Ra, St. Brown.
Nice job.
Mariota's got it back. Pressure comes. He's hit. Slips out of it. Rolling to his right. Now he's going down. Brian Branch got him. Sack for the Lions. Snap taken by Mariota. Wants to throw it. Gonna get hit. Gonna get sacked.
Yes,
Taken down. Brian Branch got him second time today.
Nice job.
Hands it to Gibbs, running right, runs through a tackle, gets down to the 10, Gibbs to the 5, still fighting, down to the 2, down to the 1, to the Hutchinson, he goes down again!
What is that? Scouting the Max? What about Kirby? J-Rod was in the crunch time chat telling Kirby to talk to me. Kirby's reached out, man. He's reposted a couple of my things, and so did Meeks and someone else. But what's hilarious is DFJ Sports on Twitter. It's getting more views and engagement than my Twitter that I've had for years. I'm telling you, my original Twitter is like shadow banned. I don't understand it. It's just weird. And I don't pay, for the most expensive Twitter. Matter of fact, I didn't even pay for a blue check for probably the last 6-8 months because it just didn't work. It didn't, like they say you get more engagement, more response. Bullcrap. It don't work. And I'm not paying $60 a month to Elon Musk. Not doing it. I'll give him $8 a month, but that's it. Yeah, I'll be at the Cardinals game, 4th and 6th. I already got tickets. I'll be there. Yeah, we're doing a few big games this year. So I'm going to the Cardinals game with like 18 other people. And then we bought 10 tickets to the Miami game. And we got a really a luxury Verbo in Fort Lauderdale. We're not going to stay in Miami because it's crazy expensive. I mean, Fort Lauderdale is expensive too, but for $3,000, I mean, we got a 5-bedroom, 4-bathroom, a beautiful home right on the canal, and we might run a boat for a week and just park it right there at the home, and do some fishing. And so we're going to spend a week down there, take a little vacation, spend some time with my kids that live in Naples, and make it a fun environment. We got really good tickets for Miami, and right. Well, we have 8 people going out of the 10 right now. We'll see if we have some extra ones. See if Eric can go if he wants to go. We definitely will have the space. Or I don't know if any of the people out of our club are going to go. But so far it's just family. It's just like a family reunion for us at the Miami game. I'm excited to go to Miami. I mean, it's I haven't been there in a while. I got some friends down there that I should probably reach out to and see if they can't bring us out on their big old yacht. But I think it's going to be a fun game. And then the Cardinals game, so I'll be hooking up with Andy. He lives out in Arizona. He was the original partner to this. Obviously still a good friend. But after he suffered a stroke, he just couldn't go on any further. So we'll get a chance to reunite with him out there and enjoy Arizona for a couple of days, which my son was just out there. He was just out there for like a week. He should have just waited until October when I could go. Kurt, what did you do? What did Kurt do? I haven't monitored the chat at all. You ain't got to go nowhere. I don't think you offended anyone. Let's see one of Kurt's statements here. He says, guys, be ready. New names stepping up this season. Our depth players will prove that Brad and Dan know their stuff. 100%. 100%. Kurt says, I like Pacheco. I believe he will show a lot of skeptics what a good pickup he is. 100% with you there too. 100%. Whoever's discrediting Pacheco, I don't know what they're not seeing, and I don't know what they're watching, because Pacheco, very aggressive runner. Like, he's not going to replace Gibbs, but there's a reason why they brought in another speed guy. And then when I broke him down, his pass pro was better than David Montgomery on paper. Right? Even through his injured seasons, it was better than David Montgomery on paper. And I think that is a huge opportunity for the Lions offensively to add a guy that, like Pacheco, that is very aggressive. He's in the best shape of his life. He looks great at practice. Very smooth, very swift. His cutbacks are flawless. I've seen nothing but great things. So if you haven't been at practice and you're discrediting Pacheco, I would advise you to go to practice. because you're not going to see it on Twitter. You're not going to see it on Facebook. You might see some of it on DetroitLions.com, but he's smart. He's heady. He's a damn good football player. And had he not been injured, I mean, he wouldn't be signing with this team for like a vet minimum deal had he not been injured. And I think that we have to give a lot of credit to these guys that have been injured and they come back, right? I mean, that's like saying, well, pick any other guy that has been injured and then comes back to, to produce, right? We can't lump Pacheco into some bucket that he's not a great player because of a couple of down years, and fighting back through an injury. If you believe in Ali McNeil, well, last year he had a terrible year after he came back. So did Pacheco. He wasn't ready. He wasn't totally healed. After his first injury, I think he came back after a couple of weeks, and you could tell that he wasn't the same. And you could tell that there was something not right. And then he got injured again, and it was a pretty bad injury. It takes time to come back from. Look at Khalil Dorsey. Like, he's just now getting back to where he was in 24. I've said this before. Aiden Hutchinson had a really rough injury. And last year, he produced beyond his means of where a player that gets injured their first year and coming back usually produces. It's usually a throwaway year. Now, Aiden had some cleanup sacks, right? He had some sacks that were well over 4 seconds, multiple of them. But he also produced in other ways. Was he perfect? No. Was he still one of the best guys out there? Yeah. But this year, now that he's a couple years out of that injury, watch Aiden have a much better year. So I will never discredit a player coming back from injury. Running backs have done it multiple times, but sometimes they lose a little bit of a step. And you also have to look at the offensive lines that he was playing behind and where, that development went throughout the season. Isaiah Pacheco is you can't discredit any of these players that Brad has brought in. If anything, they've proven time and time again that he's made the right move. Pacheco, as a rookie, put up 830 yards, 935 in his second year. And then in 2024, he only had 83 snaps on 310 yards, which was 3.7 average. Not where you want to be, but he was banged up. And I'm not going to hold the guy back because I've seen it with my own eyes now. Now, they weren't in pads on Sunday, but I've seen it in my own eyes how quick and ready he is. So in 2024, he had a fractured fibula, which is exactly what Anthony Fursker has right now. He had a fractured fibula in September, underwent surgery. That was in week 2 against Cincy, and he only missed 10 games. 10 weeks after a fractured fibula and in surgery. How can we say that he's not a good player? So lose the David Montgomery love and quit pooping on Isaiah Pacheco if that's what's happening. I fear that's what's happening because so many people love David Montgomery, they're not going to give his replacement or perceived replacement a chance. And that's wrong. That's SOL to me. It's wrong, completely wrong. He had a torn labrum in his shoulder in 22 and 23. He had a hand and a thumb fracture in January of 23. He had a concussion and a shoulder contusion in December of 23. And in 2023, he still put up almost 1,000 yards. 935 on 205 carries. That's durability, right? That's a dude that is able to still produce and rise above the injuries. Now, a fractured fibula is way different. Way different. Their legs are everything, right? And when your legs get cut out from underneath you, it takes a little bit of time to get the strength back, right? To feel strong again. And in 2024, he ended up playing in 7 games. So 2 games. Well, the first game of the year he played in. The second game is where he got injured. And then he played in the last 5-ish games of the season, but they didn't feed him the ball. He only had 83 touches, 310 yards. 83 carries, 310 yards. And then in 2025, he was obviously relegated, to the depth of that team. But that Kansas City offense last year was not great. They had multiple injuries everywhere. Offensive line was not great. Patty Mahomes got injured. So, again, I just don't think people are giving Pacheco enough credit. He's healthy. He's in the best shape of his life. Let him produce. There's no reason to discredit who he is and what he is before he's even stepped on the field. Thunder Redmond FB. Hey, man, how you doing today? It's a new name. Welcome into Rock Down Detroit Lions. Said he's a speed version of David. He absolutely is. Absolutely is. He's a speed version of David. He's a better pass pro guy, and he can hit the hole with a lot more speed. He won't get caught from behind. He ran like 4.36 speed, and Jahmyr Gibbs, guess what he runs? 4.36 speed. Now, there's a difference between being swift, right? Not DeAndre Swift, but being swift and quick versus fast. Gibbs is a lot more shifty, swift, and quick in and out of his breaks. He kind of glides. If you ever notice that about Jahmyr Gibbs, he just kind of glides, and his jump cuts are on a dime. His juke moves, they're instantaneous, and he's just so shifty, right? And then he can hit that extra gear. He goes from first to sixth gear in a heartbeat. Pacheco, same kind of speed, but he runs really hard. And he runs hard to make contact. He loves contact. Well, maybe this year he'll learn not to take as much contact. But he was always looking for contact. Now he's going to have to learn how to finish forward and try to evade, more of these guys. Yeah, he may be used in and around the goal line because he's going to be the bigger back. Right? He's, 210, 215 pounds right now? I think is what he said. It looks like he was listed at the NFL Combine at 216 at 5'10". And if you look at David Montgomery, again, I'm not going to compare them because they're different runners. They're different style. We will never know what their official, weights and heights because there's a game they play. But he was listed at 230 and 5'11". So he exactly is that speed version. If he said he was about 210, 215. So yeah, he's a little bit lighter than David Montgomery, but he's faster. He's way faster. David Montgomery ran the 40-yard dash at 4.63. His top speed was clocked at 20.8 miles per hour. And Isaiah Pacheco's official 40 was 4.37, which was tied for the fastest among all running backs in the 2022 Scouting Combine. And he was at 216 pounds at the weigh-in. His top speed reached 21.3 miles per hour. So I think that we have a very solid duo here. And then we also can't forget, as long as Vaki is healthy, we're going to have guys like Vaki that are also going to pick up, some of those goal line carries. And it's not that Jahmyr Gibbs can't do it. Obviously, Gibbs is one of the fastest to the corner. I love watching Gibbs take the corner. And I think that we can't discredit these guys, man. It's way, 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 way too early. So, like Robbie, you said Pacheco is the same player as his first 2 years. Everyone thinks his game is the same player. He's not. I don't know what you're talking about there. Pacheco is the same. If he's the same player that he was the first 2 years, I'm ecstatic about that. Ecstatic. If Pacheco puts up 830 or 930 this year, it's exactly all you need from him. You don't need any more than that. You don't need a 1,000-yard guy. You need a complement to Jahmyr Gibbs. You don't need another number one running back out there. You need a complement. You need the changeup and the fastball. You got Jahmyr, now you need the changeup. And then you have the occasional curveball. But you have no idea, Robbie, with all due respect, you have no idea who Pacheco is. You haven't been to a practice. We haven't seen a preseason game. We haven't seen a regular season game. They just started in pads. So, again, with all due respect to anybody that's discrediting Pacheco right now, like, why? That doesn't make any sense to me. He's a 7th-round draft pick that played meaningful snaps as a rookie, all 17 games, and then 14 games in 2023 after battling through 3 games of injury. And still almost put up 1,000 yards, missing 3 games. 7 TDs in 23, 5 TDs in 22. If he gets 7, 8, 9, 10 TDs this year and puts up 900 yards, perfect. That's all we need. We just need him to stay healthy throughout the season. That's all we need. Robbie, you don't know what he has. You don't know what he has for speed. You can't say that. You can't put blanket statements out there. You can't use an absolute statement on something that you don't know. Like, I don't know exactly who he is, but I'm going to tell you what he's not, just based on what I saw in practice. The dude is fast. I mean, he was lightning quick. You go back to my ex post from the days at camp on Sunday, or from the day at camp on Sunday, the dude was moving. He was electric out there. He was very, very fun to watch. And that was in punt return, of all things. So I think that we need to pump our brakes a little bit on Pacheco. Just let him show you who he is. We'll find out who he is. He hasn't even hit the field for a game yet. So when we see him in preseason, then we'll find out. I don't think that the Lions would have brought him in if he wasn't a very similar player to what he was a couple years ago. He's already stated, and it's been followed up that he is in the best shape of his life. He looks it. Trust me. He looks like a complete animal out there with how big he is. He's going to hold up just fine. And with a revamped offensive line, I think he's going to do just fine. But I'll digress off of that topic. It's a worthless topic to even talk about because we have no proof. We have no proof of what he is. So unless you have a recent combine or a recent 40-yard dash time, I mean, I would never say that he doesn't have the speed because we don't know. Except from what I saw with my own eyes. I mean, he was easily the fastest guy in the field on Sunday. And his work, like, I don't know what that drill is called, where they got the 4 bags and they run a circle around it. They run a 360 and they're punching with boxing gloves and then they're hitting it with a big old pad, trying to pop the ball out. He cleared those bags probably the fastest out of anybody. And there was a couple other guys that were pretty quick too. Lucky Jackson was extremely quick. Sam Laporta was quick, but I'm telling you, Pacheco stood out like a sore thumb with how quick he was. I think we're going to be all right. All right, I want to wind back to what I wrote on Drew Petzing. I think this is a good segue to kind of take a look back at what my thoughts were about Petzing early. And I haven't written anything since, and I probably should. We'll start with the first one. I think this is the first one. January 20th, 2026. January 20th, 2026. All right, so I said on Sundays, most fans watch the ball on TV, and next season, the smartest fans of Detroit will be watching the guards. Well, that was a big call, right? That was a huge call of mine because I thought that our guard play was going to be exceptional, and so far it has been. If you want to understand the 2026 Lions, you have to stop speaking in cliches. Run the damn ball. It's no longer a strategy, it's a slogan. By the end of this article, you will start asking the right questions in 2026. Why aren't we running more gap schemes? The reality of what Drew Petzing brings to Detroit is far more sophisticated, a complex, violent dialect of football that changes the geometry of the field. To truly understand why this hire works, you have to learn the language of the system. Here is your glossary for the new era of Lions football. The fit. Why Drew Petzing is the perfect choice. Drew Petzing is the right coach for Detroit, not because he brings a new offense, but because he brings the correct offense for the assets that Brad Holmes has hoarded. This roster was built for violence, but specifically for gap violence. You don't draft Penei Sewell just to have him stand in front of a pass rusher. You draft him to pull across the formation and erase a linebacker from existence. You don't draft road grading guards like Tate Ratledge to dance in his zone scheme. You draft them to displace 300-pound tackles against their will. Petzing's gap scheme philosophy doesn't ask this roster to change. It simply unleashes the bullies that Brad Holmes has already assembled. It is the perfect marriage of West Coast precision for Jared Goff and a phone booth style of brutality for the offensive line. The gap scheme is the foundation. Most NFL teams run zone schemes where offensive linemen step in unison to an area and the running back finds a hole. Petzing prefers gap schemes. The concept, inside of blocking an area, linemen block down to create specific angles, gaps. To make this work, you almost always pull a lineman from the backside to the front side to lead the way. Why Detroit fits. This system requires athletic linemen who can move into space. Penei Sewell is the best athlete at the tackle position in football. Petzing will use him as a weapon, pulling him across the formation to annihilate cornerbacks and linebackers. The big three gap runs. You've got the power, which is the staple. You have the counter, which is the misdirection. And then you have the duo, which is the bully play. The concept of power is the backside guard pulls around to lead through the hole. Now, we heard some of this yesterday through Mahogany, right? Everyone else blocks down to create a wall. It is the most physical play in football. And then you have the misdirection. The offense steps one way, faking a zone run, but two players, usually a guard and a tackle or a tackle tight end, or guard tight end, pull back the other way. This forces linebackers to freeze, creating a massive lane for Jahmyr Gibbs to explode through. Then you have the power play, right? Without the puller, the offensive line creates massive double teams on the defensive tackles. And physically moving them backward into the linebackers, it forces the running back to read the middle linebacker. If the linebacker steps left, the back cuts right. If it is pure brute force, a Dan Campbell favorite. Then you have the pin pull. It's the space creator. You will hear this term often with Jahmyr Gibbs. The concept, if a defender is lined up directly over an offensive lineman, that lineman blocks him, pins him, and if the defender is in a gap, the lineman pulls around him. The result It gets your big men like Sewell out on the edge, running full speed against a 190-pound defensive back. It is a mismatch nightmare. Side note on this, Frank Ragnow was one of the most gifted athletes and centers this game has seen in the pin pull concept. The Lions' next choice at center must be athletic to run this scheme. Enter Cade Mays. Marrying the run to the pass. This is where Drew Petzing is going to separate everything this season. This is the phrase that you will hear every broadcaster use. In the Petzing system, it isn't just a buzzword. It is a geometrical requirement. The illusion in a bad offense, the run plays look like run plays. And pass plays, well, they look like passes. In Petzing's system, the first 1.5 seconds of play action must look identical to a duo or a power run. The linemen fire out with the same low pad level. The quarterback uses the exact same footwork. The conflict is this is where you put the linebacker into conflict. He sees the guard pull, signaling a run, so he steps in to fill the hole. By that time, he realizes the guard is actually pass blocking. The tight end, Sam Laporta, has already slipped behind him for an easy 15-yard catch. This is how you manufacture open receivers for Jared Goff. The modern West Coast offense. How does this all tie into the West Coast label? Traditional West Coast relies on short horizontal passes, slants or flats, to replace the run game. It was finesse-based. The Petzing-Shanahan hybrid, this system keeps the West Coast passing concepts with timing, rhythm, horizontal stretch, but pairs them with the violent gap run game described above. Why it matters for Goff. It simplifies the quarterback's world. The heavy run game forces defenses to play single high. Safety looks to stop the run. This gives Goff clear defined reads. If the corner stays low, you throw the deeper route. If he bails deep, throw the short route. It turns the quarterback into a distributor rather than a magician. Exactly where Jared Goff thrives. In the trenches, in assessing the personnel fit, does Detroit actually have the bodies to run this gap-heavy system? The short answer is yes, but the torch is being passed. The old guard, a transition looming. We must acknowledge the reality of the calendar. Taylor Decker and Graham Glasgow have been the heartbeat of this line, but 2026 feels like the pivot point. Decker's game has always been about technical consistency, but as a gap scheme, as gap schemes require linemen to pull and move laterally more often, this age becomes a factor. Glasgow, a pure phone booth brawler, fits the duo calls perfectly, but may lack the explosive footwork or foot speed that Petzing prefers for those pin pulls. Now remember, this was January 20th. This was before free agency, before the Super Bowl. And I already said that Taylor Decker and Graham Glasgow wouldn't be here any longer. Fantastic call. The young core, built for violence. This is where Brad Holmes' recent draft strategy looks prophetic. He didn't just draft linemen. He drafted Petzing-style maulers. Tate Ratledge. Ratledge is a gap scheme native. At Georgia, he played in a pro-style offense that majored in counter and power. His scouting profile was defined by his anchor and ability to maul in tight spaces. He isn't a finesse zone blocker. He is a road grader, designed to down block on a 3-tech. Exactly what Petzing's duo plays require. Christian Mahogany, former Boston College. That's exactly where Petzing came from. The fit. If you built a guard in a lab for Drew Petzing, it would be Mahogany. His college tape at Boston College was filled with gap runs. He was described by scouts as a bouncer outside a club, a player who thrives on pulling around the edge and burying the linebackers in space. He is the ideal puller for the power O and plays that will define this new offense. Well, again, yesterday, Mahogany was pulling all over the place. Miles Frazier. Frazier is the depth piece. Remember, I called him depth piece back in January, and that's what we're hearing right now. Who fits the physical profile. At LSU, he excelled in tight spaces and showed the ability to execute short pulls. While he may not be the elite athlete Sewell is, his heavy hands and ability to displace defenders make him a natural fit for the dual concept where moving a man from point A to point B is the only requirement. Giovanni Manu, unfortunate, the sleeping giant of Petzing's hire. The fit, if you are looking for a roster-specific reason why this hire matters, look no further than the 6'7", 352-pound mountain from British Columbia. For 2 years, Giovanni Manu has been a project. Under Drew Petzing, he becomes a weapon. Unfortunately, he is now injured. The gap scheme is unmatched with Manu. In the previous zone-heavy world, Lyman relied on elite lateral agility to chase down fast defenders. While Manu is a freak athlete, 4.96 speed, his technique in space has often been labeled as raw. Petzing's system solves this by simplifying the geometry. The new scheme prioritizes vertical displacement over lateral finesse, refining Manu's role to maximize his massive strength and length, allowing him to focus on moving defenders against their will rather than mirroring them. In the Petzing shift, I think the Petzing's gap scheme power duo simplifies the assignment. It asks the tackle to block down, wash the defensive end inside, or pull around the edge. The fit, Manu is a road grader. In a duo call, you are asking him to double team a defensive tackle and drive him into the lap of a linebacker. This utilizes his 350-pound frame to generate vertical displacement rather than asking him to dance laterally. He doesn't have to catch defenders anymore. He gets to attack them. The jumbo tight end fit, the sixth offensive lineman. This is where it gets fun. As noted in the breakdown, Petzing used 13 personnel, 3 tight ends, more than any coach in the NFL, 28% of snaps. Outside of the Rams ran it the most. The problem, the Lions might not always want to carry 4 active tight ends on game day. The solution, Giovanni Manu is the jumbo tight end because he runs a sub 540. He is athletic enough to report as number 59 is eligible, line up as a tight end, and effectively function as a third blocking tight end. Expect a pass to Manu in 2026. Well, we won't see that now. The nightmare. Imagine a pin pull sweep where Penei Sewell pulls from the right and Giovanni Manu pulls from the left. You have 700 pounds of offensive linemen running full speed at 190-pound cornerback. The verdict. The transformation from the zone-heavy days of the past to Petzing's gap scheme is already solved on this roster. While the potential loss in leadership with Decker or Glasgow would hurt, the physical skill sets of Sewell, Ultimate Weapon, Ratledge, and Mahogany are actually better suited for this violent downhill style of play than the previous regime's preference for lateral movement. Addressing the offensive line isn't just an option for Detroit this offseason, it is a necessity. As I've broken down on the Rise and Grind Morning Show, players like Mahogany, Frazier, and Manu are solid assets, but they should be viewed as high-end insurance, not guaranteed answers. The true goal is finding a blue-chip center and a cornerstone left tackle to succeed Taylor Decker. I want to see Frazier, Mahogany battling for the left guard spot because they have to, not because they are the only options. To truly fit this scheme, Holmes needs to add another premier tackle and guard to the mix. To do this, and the Lions would easily have a top 5 offensive line to start camp. And I think we're starting to see that come to fruition with the best backup depth in the league, and I think we're seeing that as well. So that was my early take. Now, what did I get wrong? Well, they decided to finally move Penei Sewell to the left side. They grabbed a tackle. They grabbed a center. Glasgow and Taylor Decker are gone. And that was all predicted, all spot on. So now you have to look at what we have on this offensive line. I think the depth is crazy good. Now with Barch and Borum and Scruggs, I mean, they've really gone far and wide to bring in the right players. Now, so I put out 3 things on the 20th. Let's go to the next one. On Drew Petzing. Okay, Detroit Lions offensive coordinator Drew Petzing. Now this makes perfect sense. This was actually on January 19th. I published it on January 20. All right, the search is over. The Lions found a schematic mirror image of Dan Campbell with former Arizona Cardinals offensive coordinator Drew Petzing. Do not confuse this for a culture hire, as I've seen suggested online. That narrative is lazy. This move is purely tactical. It isn't about maintaining vibes. It's about X's and O's. Matching Detroit's physical roster with one of the few coaches who genuinely shares the same DNA. The predictable reaction, cue the outrage. You wanted the splash. You wanted the McDaniel magic show. Sorry to burst your bubble, but real football doesn't work that way. That desire stems from the same Madden mentality that begs for flashy, expensive, and senseless trade deadline moves. It's casual thinking. I know. I'm being a little rough, but it was needed at this time. What's the brutal truth? McDaniel is a flight risk, not a fixture. He wouldn't have come to Detroit to build. He comes to audit his resume, booking a layover before his next head coaching gig somewhere else, right? It was never a one-way trip. I warned everyone from day one, not happening. Maybe it's time you subscribe to Real Football Talk and join the adults in the room. Links below. That's right here where you guys all are today. All right, let's dive into the Drew Petzing. Just isn't a safe hire, but potentially the perfect one to unlock the next level of the Lions offense in 26. While the dismissal of John Morton signaling a desire for change, the arrival of Petzing signals a desire for evolution rather than revolution. Petzing, a disciple of the Kevin Stefanski and Gary Kubiak coaching trees, brings a system that prioritizes the very things that Detroit cherishes most. A violent run game, heavy tight end usage, complex blocking schemes, ruthless efficiency off play action, chaos, confusion for opposing defenses. Oh, don't do that. I thought I fixed this on my mouse. I guess I didn't. When violence meets the West Coast offense, the primary reason Petzing fits Detroit is that he speaks the language of gap football. Unlike the spread-heavy air raid coordinators of the college game, Petzing's base philosophy is built on the under-center run game, specifically dual power and counter. The heavy personnel identity in Arizona, Petzing was famous for his usage of 12 and 13 personnel groups. This aligns perfectly with the Lions roster that has invested heavily in offensive line depth and tight ends. Early prediction, expect the Lions to draft the next left tackle and tight end of the future in 26 that fit the scheme. More on this here. There's probably another link right there. Well, I got that wrong. You're supposed to get the left tackle, but we got the right tackle because they moved Panay. And we didn't get a tight end. I don't know why we didn't get a tight end. The run game continuity, the Lions do not want to become a finesse passing team. In 2023, Petzing's Cardinals finished second in the NFL in rushing average, 5.2 average per carry, and fourth in total rushing yards. He achieved this with a roster far less talented than Detroit's. He understands that to protect the quarterback, you must first bludgeon the defensive front, a philosophy that Dan Campbell demands. Play action candy. Petzing's system relies on marrying the run and the pass. Because he runs the ball so effectively from under center, his play action shots are devastatingly effective. This mimics the specific Goff-friendly structure that Ben Johnson used to turn Jared Goff into a top-tier passer. Force linebackers to step up to stop the run, then throw behind them. The weaponry fit, unlocking the core four. How does Petzing's history translate to Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamison Williams, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Sam Laporta? The tape suggested a massive potential for increased production and growth for all four inside the scheme. Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, the Connor effect. Petzing isn't afraid to feed a bell cow. In Arizona, he turned James Conner into the engine of the offense, leaning on him for pin pull, sweeps, and gap scheme runs that allowed him to play arguably the best football of his career. For Jahmyr Gibbs, Petzing's diverse run menu, specifically the perimeter toss and counter plays he designed for Conner, will get him into space against linebackers who are frozen by the threat of the inside run or screen. Running backs in this system typically saw their fair share of involvement in the passing game. Petzing would typically dial up 6 to 8 options in the slot, out of the backfield, or screens per game. And I think that you're going to see that this year. I still think that that number is fair, but it could be more. You might see Jahmyr Gibbs with more pass opportunities. 6 to 8 is kind of a lot, but it could be divided up between a couple of backs. For Sam Laporta as the focal point, if there's one winner in this hire, it is Sam Laporta. Petzing views the tight end not just as a safety valve, but as a primary number one option. Amon-Ra St. Brown, the Thielen role, right? Before calling plays, Petzing was a wide receivers coach in Minnesota, where he helped oversee the dominance of Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs. He understands how to scheme free releases for slot receivers. St. Brown will likely see an increase in choice routes over the middle, where Petzing's quarterbacks are taught to attack the intermediate void. Sound familiar yet? Jamison Williams, the vertical threat. The criticism of Petzing in Arizona was occasionally a conservative nature. But this was largely due to Kyler Murray's limitations in rhythm passing and the lack of speed on the roster. With Goff, Petzing can utilize the deep post and dagger concepts off play action that require precise timing and Williams' specialty, speed. What we're now understanding is that JMO is developing even more intermediate routes, which is incredible. Proof of concept, the tight end whisperer. The most exciting evidence for the Lions fans and Petzing's direct track record with tight ends. He doesn't just use them, he manufactures production for them. The Trey McBride explosion under Drew Petzing. Trey McBride went from a promising young player to a statistical monster. In 2025, McBride set a franchise record for conservative games with 5+ catches, effectively becoming the Cardinals' entire passing offense. Petzing force-fed him targets, designing specific tight end screens and Y ISO plays to get the ball into his hands 10+ times a game. How does that translate? Expect Sam Laporta to be a centerpiece of the game plan, not just a red zone threat. Then there's the David Njoku renaissance, right? Before Arizona, Petzing was the tight ends coach for the Cleveland Browns, 20-21. Under that tutelage, David Njoku developed into a complete tight end. In 2021, the Browns were the only team in the NFL to have 3 different tight ends record at least 3 touchdowns each. How does that translate? Well, this suggests that not only will Laporta feast, but the Lions tight end 2, potentially Brock Wright or a draft pick, will also be a significant factor in the red zone. They brought in Conklin, they brought in a few UDFAs, and now they're translating who? Jackson Meeks into a hybrid opportunity that has real receiver expectations. So expect it. The Lions will be drafting another tight end in 2026. I missed on that one. Oh, well. The Petzing was trash narrative. Just stop already. He is the reality check for everyone screaming about the Cardinals' 2025 stats. Calling Drew Petzing trash because of the 2025 Arizona Cardinals season isn't just lazy, it's malpractice. Yes, the Cardinals finished 3-14. Yes, the run game plummeted to 30th in yards per game in 25, from 7th in 24, and 3rd in 23. But context isn't an excuse, it's the evidence. You cannot evaluate a coordinator when the training room is busier than the end zone. Let's look at the actual weaponry that Petzing was handed in 25. QB1 was Kyler Murray. He played 5 games. Can't see over the O-line. Had to scramble or use rollouts often just to get Murray in position to see downfield. Kyler Murray is an off-platform quarterback. He is not a perfect quarterback in Petzing's system. Not even close. The RB1, James Conner. He was the engine of that entire scheme. He only played 3 games. Marvin Harrison Jr. He was the WR1. Placed on IR after week 14 and was hobbled for weeks before. Whom, by the way, had a pedestrian rookie season that was already regressing in 25. And then there's Greg Dortch. Welcome to Detroit. He was on IR with a chest injury after week 12. Wide receiver 3, Zay Jones. He was on IR with an Achilles after week 9. Tight end 1, Trey McBride. Well, he played the entire season. Typically is the only passing option for Murray, which makes it pretty easy to shut down an offense, even with McBride having one of the best seasons ever as a tight end. You cannot beat teams one-dimensional. The result? Petzing was forced to run a power gap scheme with Michael Carter and Amari DeMarcado as his bell cows, and Jacoby Brissett effectively throwing to practice squad bodies. Judging Petzing on 25 is like firing a Formula One driver because his pit crew gave him a car with 3 wheels and no engine. Let me say that again. Judging Petzing on 25 is like firing a Formula One driver because his pit crew gave him a car with 3 wheels and no engine. It just doesn't work. Well, that offense that he was given just didn't work. They were all injured. But how did he manufacture McBride's crazy season? How did he isolate one player against every defense to have an incredible year? Intelligence, that's how. The real tape, if you want to know who Petzing is, watch 23 and 24. When he had actual NFL starters. In 23, he took roster-devoid talent and produced a top 5 rushing attack. That is the coach Detroit is hiring. 25 was just a medical report disguised as a football season. My verdict, my Drew Petzing is a high floor hire with a high ceiling schematic match. He brings the discipline of the Stefanski tree, the run game violence of the Gannon Eagles influence, and a proven history of maximizing the exact types of players Detroit has built its roster around. He won't ask for the Lions to change who they are. He will simply give them a better blueprint to dominate. End of story. And that's kind of what we've heard already. He came in and specifically said, look, I'm not going to change everything. We're going to have some different language. We're going to have some different plays. We're going to do some things that I like to do. But so far, it has not been a complete gut job. And I think it's going to be a pretty damn exciting season. All right, last article I wrote. All three of these, again, before January 20. The Petzing playbook, the West Coast offense redefined in Detroit, and yes, it will be. In a league currently obsessed with bazooka arms and 4-4 speed, the West Coast offense remains that great equalizer. It is the philosophy that proves you don't need to be a superhero to destroy a defense. You just need to be a surgeon. It relies on the belief that a perfectly timed 5-yard throw can be just as devastating as a deep bomb if the rhythm is perfect. For a quarterback like Jared Goff, who wins with his mind and feet rather than raw athleticism, this system isn't just a playbook. It is oxygen to this team. Let's dive into what this offense is designed to do and how this offense will fit the Lions' current situation. Hopefully, this piece helps you gain some insight and knowledge into the situation. If it did, please share it, like, subscribe to the Detroit Football Journal, right? And receive a free 6-month paywall free. Well, that was back then. If you subscribe today, I'll give you 6 months free. What is the West Coast offense? The West Coast offense, or WCO for short, is arguably the most influential philosophy in modern NFL history. Originally popularized by Bill Walsh with the 49ers in the 1980s, it completely changed how football was played. Traditionally, football was run to set up the pass. The West Coast offense flipped this on its head. The core philosophy was pass to set up the run. The fundamental idea of a traditional West Coast offense is to use the short passing game as an extension of the run game. That's what we saw last year out of Morton. That's what Dan Campbell was trying to do, and it just didn't work with that coach. Instead of handing the ball off for a 3-yard gain, you throw a quick 3-yard pass to the flat or the slant. The goal is to force the defense to defend the entire width of the field, sideline to sideline, rather than just the box. By spreading the defense out horizontally, you eventually open up running lanes up the middle later in the game. The 3 pillars of this system, timing and rhythm, or the drop. This is the most critical element in the West Coast offense. The quarterback is not reacting to the receiver. He is throwing to a spot based on footwork and landmarks. The entire offense is timed to the quarterback's feet. 3-step drop, ball comes out immediately. Slants, hitches. 5-step drop, intermediate routes, digs, outs. 7-step drop, the deeper routes, posts, corners. You get the idea. The rule is that the ball must leave the quarterback's hand before the receiver makes his break. If the quarterback holds the ball, the play is dead. This relies on trust and anticipation. This is why J-Mo struggled last year, because he wasn't getting to his landmarks. He was getting bumped. He was getting eaten alive across the middle at times. And that's going to change this year. One of the biggest reasons why receivers are slow to develop in Detroit under Jared Goff is this exact scenario. Goff must trust you know your landmark and your timing is crisp. Otherwise, it leads to interceptions, batted balls, and missed opportunities. The horizontal stretch, the old school offenses tried to stretch the field vertically, deep bombs. The West Coast offense stretches the field horizontally. It floods the zones with multiple receivers, called the triangle read. It forces linebackers to chase running backs and tight ends to the sidelines, which tires them out and creates gaps in the middle of the defense. Yak. This is where the Lions do their business, man. Because passes are short, often 5 to 8 yards in the air, the burden is on the receiver to create big plays. The West Coast offense receivers are drafted for their ability to run the ball after the catch. They catch the ball in stride on a slant or crossing route and turn a 5-yard pass into a 20-yard gain. Let me pause there. Remember, this was back in January. Who did the Lions draft? Kendrick Law. Why did they draft him? When Eric was reading me some of the stats, I'm like, that can't be right. There is just no way his average depth of pass was like 2 yards. But his yak was like 9 yards a catch. They brought in Kendrick Law for this exact reason right here. The short passes that Kendrick Law was going to take for another 10, 20 yards. So now they're going to try to use that same system with players like Jahmyr Gibbs in the slot, J-Mo coming across the middle, even St. Brown. You're going to see a lot of confusion, a lot of chaos around the linebackers. I think the Lions are going to flood that zone heavily this year. And then Sam Laporta is just going to be walking down the seam. Doesn't even need to run because ain't nobody going to be on him. Why this matters for Detroit and Jared Goff, Bill? Because Jared Goff is a prototypical West Coast quarterback. He does not have the strongest arm in the league like a Josh Allen, nor is he a runner like Lamar Jackson. However, he is elite at processing, reading the defense, timing, and accuracy. And I'm not saying he doesn't have an arm, because Jared Goff absolutely has an arm. The West Coast offense protects the quarterback because the ball comes out fast. It negates the pass rush, which is another way you use scheme to stop a defense. When Goff has to hold the ball, this usually means receivers are covered or the play is broken down. Drew Petzing's version, while Bill Walsh ran the pure West Coast offense, modern coaches like Drew Petzing and Ben Johnson run the Shanahan version or variation. This marries the West Coast offense passing concepts, short time throws, with the zone run scheme, moving the offensive line in unison. This is why Petzing is considered such a strong fit. He keeps the timing elements Goff loves, but adds the power run elements that Campbell loves. So now you have a pure West Coast passing system mixed with the power schemes that I mentioned in the 2 articles ago, and they're still going to keep the zone run. They're going to use it all. That's why this hire is so important to this offense and why the players that they brought in, and look at the other players that they brought in. Look at the other receivers that they brought in. Now, we released Tariq Black, but players like Lawrence Keys and Lucky Jackson, these players are known for taking short passes long distances. Right now, they don't mass 1,000 yards in the UFL, but these are some of the best receivers in the UFL, and they're known for utilizing an offense just like this. So, anyway, that was my breakdown on Drew Petzing way back in January. And now what we are hearing is that this exact same thing is happening. It's exactly what they brought him in to do, and it's working. So that's it for the day. It's now 11:30. I've been on for 3.5 hours. It's been a long day. We'll try to get you guys caught up this afternoon with a day 6 breakdown on what happened today. Some more news should be popping out here any moment, and I'll be back. So if we get any breaking news, I don't think that we've had any. I haven't seen any pop up. Berksker has already been placed on reserved injured. They re-signed Zach Horton. It's the latest development that I see. Oh, my God, my allergies are crazy today. Penei Sewell's the 37th player on the top 100. That's just crazy. Only 37. Ooh. Here's the Aiden. Here's the Aiden video. Aiden and Panay. So big difference. I mean, we didn't see the beginning of the rep on the first one. But if you look at that second rep right there, the way that Panay controlled him is with that left stab arm, right? Pop, right there. So he popped him, and that forced him to go inside, and then Panay Sewell mirrored his feet to continue to force him inside. Look at Big Skip back there playing QB. Skip's lost a lot of weight. All right, I'm out of here, y'all. Y'all have a wonderful day. We'll catch you guys later on, like I said, this afternoon. Go to Detroit Lions, man. Day 6 is going to be in the books here any second. We'll bring you all the gushy details later on.